Chapter 76. The girl had already taken the initiative to kiss him, but the boy didn't have any reaction. Although everything was strange, if there were no feelings, it would be impossible to ignite. There was no doubt that love was rejected, and it was impossible for the girl's heart to remain calm. While eating, Yi Bing looked at Zhang Xiu with a hint of bitterness in her eyes. A few examinees entered the cafeteria one after another, and they were all discussing this morning's exam questions. Some students liked to compare their answers directly after the exam so that they could estimate their scores more accurately. At this time, the exam answers were also out. "Classmate, can I have a look at your answers?" If it was a normal person, they definitely wouldn't give it to them. Since Yi Bing was such a beautiful school belle, the boys naturally had to be gracious enough. "No need to be so polite, take it." "Thank you." Yi Bing was very ladylike. There was also a portion of people who weren't willing to compare their answers. If the situation wasn't ideal, it would affect their mood and affect their performance later on. Yi Bing looked at the exam paper carefully. It would have been better if she didn't look, but once she looked, her face became even paler. She was now sure that she had answered all the questions wrong. She knew that she was wrong, but she still said that she would get all the answers right. Liar. Yi Bing looked at Zhang Xiu with even more resentment. She glared at Zhang Xiu and said, "Liar, you liar, didn't you say that I got all the answers right?" When a girl's desires weren't satisfied, acting like a hooligan was the best way. Zhang Xiu said, "There are only two kinds of liars. One is to cheat for money, and the other is to cheat for sex. Why do you think this sovereign lied to you?" Originally, he didn't lie to her, but everything that happened in the phone booth was a lie. "You still dare to say that you lied to me?" "You lied about that." Yi Bing's self-restraint and restraint couldn't say things like cheating for sex. However, she quickly made Zhang Xiu understand that everything a girl said was right. Being unreasonable was a girl's patent. "In any case, you are a liar, a complete liar." Zhang Xiu said, "Even if this sovereign is a liar, it's still an unsuccessful liar." Yi Bing's beautiful eyes widened. "How is this still an unsuccessful liar? That was this young lady's first kiss. He lied to her miserably. What a huge loss." When Zhang Xiu saw Yi Bing's expression, which looked as if she had suffered a great loss, he couldn't help but smile. "Since that's the case, Yi Bing, why did you treat a swindler to a meal?" Yi Bing said fiercely, "I was still fooled by you." The smile on Zhang Xiu's face became even wider. "All right, being cheated of paying the bill can be considered as being cheated of money. Student Yi, you've truly been cheated of your money and body by this sovereign. You've lost both your money and your body." Yi Bing spat. "Bah, you're the one who's lost everything." "Hee hee." Zhang Xiu laughed out loud with bad intentions, causing Yi Bing's cheeks to heat up again. The young girl's appearance was delicate and pretty beyond compare. Her thin summer clothes stuck to her body after being soaked by the rain, outlining the curves of her chest that were much more spectacular than usual. Although they were slightly less voluptuous, Zhang Xiu knew that her foundation was still very straight and full of elasticity. Yi Bing immediately realized that Zhang Xiu's gaze was fixed on her body. Her charming face became even hotter and she subconsciously shrunk back. "If I don't do well on the exam, you're the one to blame." Zhang Xiu fiercely glared at her again, then turned to look at her bashful face. "If you don't do well on the exam, what does that have to do with this sovereign?" Yi Bing said, "How does it have nothing to do with me? You're so annoying. Seeing you makes this young lady's mood bad. Once my mood is bad, of course I won't do well on the exam. Tell me, if I don't blame you, then who should I blame?" Zhang Xiu sighed and said, "It's boring. How many fairies would not eat or sleep at night just to catch a glimpse of this sovereign's elegance? They would undress and throw themselves into this sovereign's arms. If this sovereign is annoying, then why did you?" Yi Bing saw that his words were getting more and more excessive. He even dared to mention what happened just now. Not only was her face red from embarrassment, but she was also extremely angry in her heart. Her beautiful eyes revealed an ominous glint and she kicked him with her long leg under the table. "Who told you to talk nonsense?" Zhang Xiu's spiritual cultivation didn't need a human. His legs clamped down and Yi Bing's leg was clamped down. She tried to retract her leg, but Zhang Xiu firmly clamped it down and wouldn't let go. Let go of me. Such intimate contact was just like that phone booth in her dreams. The youth's gaze made Yi Bing feel hot, as if she was going to melt. Let go of me. Yi Bing secretly regretted kicking him. This was the difference between men and women. It was biological. Boys were willing to get close to beautiful girls that they didn't love, but girls couldn't do anything about it. When Zhang Xiu came out of the phone booth, the sensitive girl already knew that Zhang Xiu didn't have any feelings for her. Since he didn't love her, even if it didn't reach the level of being a hooligan, it was still taking advantage of her. Let go of me, okay? The girl's voice became very soft, as if she was begging for mercy. Zhang Xiu let Yi Bing go with satisfaction and said, "Don't worry, you won't mess up the exam. This sovereign will guarantee that you will pass the cutoff score for Capital University or China University. Then you better pray to the gods and Buddha, pray that I can enter Capital University or China University, or else you'll be in trouble." Once the girl got away, she started making threatening gestures again. In the following exam, Zhang Xiu already had the experience of cheating before, so he finished it in minutes. Yi Bing, on the other hand, wasn't in a good state. A girl's psychological quality was poor to begin with, and she didn't think that her language results were ideal, so she became more and more abnormal. However, with Zhang Xiu's help, she naturally became the king of the exam. The 3 days of the college entrance exam ended very quickly. When she went back that day, Yi Bing estimated her score under her mother's request. According to her estimation, it should be around 630 points, which was far from the cutoff score for Capital University. This made her very depressed, and her mother was also very worried. However, the grade was still not accurate, and sometimes the difference was very big. The real score would only be released 2 weeks later. The day the college entrance exam results were released was also the graduation ceremony for the 3rd year of high school. On this day, the school was extraordinarily lively. Regardless of whether they did well or not, the results were out. Everything was a foregone conclusion, and the bitter study life was finally over. Every student let go of themselves. On the way to the auditorium, they bumped into a few familiar faces, and the one in the center was Cheng Lingsu. The girl's smile was like a flower, and her face was relaxed. Suddenly, her gaze fell on Zhang Xiu, and the corner of her mouth raised into a proud arc. "Zhang Xiu, how many points did you get?" Ouyang Qian and Li Dan were with the girl, and the other girls were probably from her class. Zhang Xiu said, "I don't know. The college entrance exam results were released yesterday. How could you not know?" A girl with a delicate face said, "That's right." Ouyang Qian said, "Say it, we'll listen. We promise not to laugh at you." She clearly looked down on Zhang Xiu. Although she said not to laugh, the ridicule in her eyes was obvious. Cheng Lingsu also looked at him curiously, waiting for his answer. "I really don't know." Zhang Xiu indeed did not check his results, because there was no need for it. Although he did not know how many points he got, how could it be bad? "I didn't check it." At this time, a very annoying voice sounded, "Of course I wouldn't check it. If it was me, I would also not check my results after being the last in the entire school. It hurts my heart." Following this voice, Yi Wanchen, Lin Shu, and the other members of the student council walked over. "Young Master Yi, young Master Lin." Especially when they saw Yi Wanchen, everyone was very curious. How many points did this top scorer get? Did he become the top scorer in Jiangnan? Even Cheng Lingsu was very curious. Ouyang Qian said, "Young Master Yi, how many points did you get?" At this moment, everyone was still very nervous. After all, Yi Wanchen was their classmate. It was also a matter of pride that the top scorer came from their own school. Yi Wanchen put one hand in his pocket and pushed up his glasses. He looked very confident and said softly, "I don't know. I haven't checked yet." Wow, everyone was in an uproar. Lin Shu said, "In this world, there are only 2 kinds of people who don't check their college entrance exam results. The first kind of people know that there won't be any accidents. Capital University and Hua University are already in the bag. The only suspense is whether or not they can become the top scorer in Jiangnan. For example, young Master Yi. The other kind of people also know that there won't be any accidents. No matter what, they will be at the bottom of the school. For example, student Zhang Xiu. His gaze fell on Zhang Xiu. Zhang Xiu, tell me, am I right? Zhang Xiu smiled faintly and did not comment. Young Master Yi, check it. How many points did you get? Cheng Lingsu also said curiously, yes, check it. Yi Wenchen said, since it's like this, then do as you wish. He took out his phone and entered his admission number. How many? Yi Wenchen's confident smile suddenly froze. Chapter 77. Everyone saw the expression on Yi Wenchen's face and felt that something was wrong. His brother Lin Shu frowned. What's wrong? Did we lose the top scorer? Yi Wenchen had told him that he was sure to be the top scorer. How could there be an accident? He was still looking forward to having a brother who was the top scorer. When he poked his head out to take a look, he was also stunned. He cried out involuntarily, how did this happen? What's wrong? How many points did young Master Yi get? Yi Wenchen was completely stunned. His face was pale. He couldn't believe it. The phone showed that Yi Wenchen was 476. 476 points was his college entrance exam score. Wow! The students present were in an uproar. Young Master Yi, this. Everyone's first reaction was that Yi Wenchen failed at the last step. This situation was not uncommon. Too much pressure made people lose their ability to perform. Or they filled in the wrong order during the exam. More than 400 points. He can't even get into the third tier. Yi Wenchen took a specialist exam. Yi Wenchen looked at Cheng Lingsu. His face was twitching. He had already imagined that he would confess to this girl when the school announced that he was the top scorer. Then, they would enter the capital university hand in hand and start a beautiful and sweet university life. It would shock everyone. But his beautiful vision was all in vain. If he were to repeat his studies for another year, the girl would not stop to wait for him. He might just brush past Cheng Lingsu. No, this is impossible. Su. Cheng Lingsu looked at this outstanding boy sympathetically. Reality was so cruel. It didn't matter how good the results were in the past. All the schools only looked at the results this time. The college entrance exam score was the only standard. Good news, good news. The crowd in the distance suddenly burst into cheers. It seemed that there was great news. Not only were the students running, but even the teacher was also running with all his might. He had a big belly, and his fat was shaking. He was so excited that his face was red. Our school has a top scorer. Our school has a top scorer. The members of the student union present were confused. Second High School was the first in Jiang City. It was ranked first in the whole Jiangnan. Although it was very strong, it seemed that no one else had the ability to be the top scorer except Yi Wenchen. The top scorer has emerged. It was not only the glory of Rivertown Second High School but also the glory of all the students in Rivertown. Now, he was really awesome. Who could it be? Everyone was very curious, but it seemed that no one knew who the chief planner was. Ring ring ring. The bell in the auditorium rang, and the assembly officially began. The students who were still outside rushed inside. No matter how good or bad no. Two high schools' performance in the college entrance examination was, having the top scorer was a huge success. The glory was enough to make up for everything. Students, please be quiet. Everyone was still unfamiliar with the new principal. He was also very excited at this time. He had just been appointed and had already made such a big achievement. There was only one in the entire Jiangnan province, and it fell on his head. The voice said excitedly, first of all, congratulations to everyone for completing the 3 years of high school. Whether you did well or not, everything is over. Today, Everyone can calmly look back on the past 12 years. The principal started to give a long speech. In this year's college entrance examination, our Zhongqing Second High School has achieved outstanding results. There are a total of 9 people from Capital University and China University who passed the cutoff line. Wow, there was a thunderous applause. 9 people from one school were admitted to the top universities. It was really shocking. No wonder they were the top high school in Zhongqing. The new principal became more and more excited at this point. Also, I want to solemnly, and excitedly announce, this year's top scorer in Jiangnan Province has appeared in our school. He has appeared in Zhongqing Second High School. Clap, clap, clap. There was endless applause. Who is it? Who is it? The entire auditorium was in an uproar. Some teachers were so excited that they started to whisper to each other. It should be Yi Wenchen. There seemed to be no one else but him. Yi Wenchen's classmates started to cheer for him. Someone took the lead and shouted, Yi Wenchen, Yi Wenchen. The rest of the students echoed. The top scorer should be treated with such respect. The other classes also helped. Yi Wenchen, Yi Wenchen. The entire auditorium was filled with Yi Wenchen's name. Yi Wenchen's face turned pale. He had imagined this scene countless times, but when it really happened, it was like a loud slap to his face. The principal on the stage said, Students, this time, the top scorer is not Yi Wenchen. Huh? It's not. This was a big mistake. Everyone quickly shut up and felt embarrassed for Yi Wenchen for 3 seconds. The principal said, the top scorer is from grade 12 class 5. Schwa schwa schwa. Everyone's gaze turned towards grade 12 class 5. The class teacher, Abbess Miju, was pleasantly surprised when she heard this. She was stunned on the spot. Happiness came too quickly and too suddenly. There was a top scorer in her class? The entire class 5 was in an uproar. Who's the top scorer in class 5? Yi Wenchen and the rest's brilliance covered everything, making everyone else pale in comparison. Other than them, almost no one paid attention to the rest. Yi Bing, it can't be you, right? Lu Xiaoyun asked. Yi Bing's exam this time was considered to be above average. She scored 701 points. She was already in the capital and the University of China. It was 50 points higher than her usual mock exam. How can it be? I'm still far from it. The principal revealed the mystery at this time. Next, I will solemnly announce that the top scorer is from grade 12 class 5. Zhang Xiu. Zhang Xiu. Zhang Xiu. How can it be? Yi Wenchen and the rest were even more shocked. Zhang Xiu was known to be a poor student in school. He was always at the bottom of the mock exam. How could such a person be the top scorer? What kind of joke was this? Zhang Xiu's exam score is 743 points. Everyone, clap. The principal took the lead and applauded with all his might. It exploded, it completely exploded. The entire class 5 jumped up. Did you hear that? 743 points. Oh my God. This was such a heaven-defying result. Not only was he the top scorer this year, but even in the past, no one had scored so high. A total of 7 points were deducted. What about the Chinese essay and English essay? The guy who set up the fruit stall is the top scorer? Cheng Lingsu, Ouyang Qian, Li Dan, and the rest were all stunned. How could he? A student who was at the bottom of the mock exam became the top scorer in the college entrance exam. How could this be? Everyone, congratulations to Zhang Xiu. Thank you, Zhang Xiu, for bringing glory to our second high school and Zhongqing City. Finally, there was a thunderous applause. Let's welcome Zhang Xiu to the stage. Zhang Xiu didn't check his results, but he already knew that he was the top scorer this year. When the results were released last night, Li Mi's priesthood light suddenly increased by a lot. Zhang Xiu stood up with a calm face and walked to the stage. At this moment, everyone's eyes fell on him. At this moment, a sentence flashed in everyone's mind. A loser turned his life around. How inspiring it was for the guy who set up the fruit stall at home to become the top scorer. Some people already had tears in their eyes. They were moved by Zhang Xiu's deeds. One could imagine how excited and gratified his parents would be when they heard the news. All their efforts had paid off. Was there a better reward than this? Thank you, Principal. Thank you, everyone. Seeing Zhang Xiu walk to the auditorium as the top scorer, Yi Wanchen and Lin Shu's eyes were gloomy and scary. The top scorer sounds good. He's just the top scorer. He still has to go to college to study. After graduation, he still has to work for others. He's too naive to think that a single exam can change his life. Cheng Lingsu's expression was slightly complicated. To be honest, she was shocked that Zhang Xiu became the top scorer. She even looked at him in a new light. However, she felt very uncomfortable. Since Zhang Xiu was the top scorer, it meant that his grades were not bad at all. However, he usually messed up his exams. She thought that Zhang Xiu did it on purpose. He was waiting for this moment to launch a strong counterattack against her. He wanted to prove to Cheng Lingsu that he was not weaker than anyone else. Too naive. The gap between us is not something that a top scorer like you can make up for. After you graduate from college, your annual salary is 300,000 yuan. If you work hard for your whole life, you can only earn 10 million at most. However, any project of mine can earn 100 million. Why can't you see that we are people from two different worlds? You can never catch up. Cheng Lingsu shook her head secretly. Looking at Zhang Xiu on the stage, who seemed to be proud of himself, she felt pity for him. Chapter 78. On the side, Ouyang Qian and the others said angrily, "Even if you enter the Imperial University, you can't change the fate of a poor student. Poor people struggling under the fate of poverty. You obviously have the fate of eating salted vegetables and tofu, but you have to go to high-end international restaurants." When the people on the side heard this, they also deeply agreed. Li Dan said, "It seems that Yi Bing has also reached the 700 mark. The two of them should have agreed to go to the Imperial University together." Cheng Lingsu's eyes flashed with a trace of unnaturalness. She couldn't help but look at Yi Bing in the distance. Sister Yi was shocked at this moment. She looked at Zhang Xiu on the stage with some disbelief. She felt that it was so unreal. Her eyes were more or less infatuated. This made Cheng Lingsu very uncomfortable. She felt that Zhang Xiu was not worthy of being liked by such an outstanding girl like Yi Bing. "You always do things that overestimate yourself. When will you wake up?" Zhang Xiu also received a police station medal before. The Education Bureau also specially gave him 20 extra points for the college entrance examination. Well, now he had a full score. This was really unprecedented. It was true that he would amaze the world with a single brilliant feat. Top scorer, awesome. Zhang Xiu. The students of Class 5 shouted wantonly. It was as if they had seen a star, releasing all their enthusiasm. On the side, Abbess Miju's eyes were filled with tears. She really didn't expect that she would teach a top scorer in her lifetime. She was too excited. The student that she used to look down on the most had become her greatest pride. That night, Tang Jinshan hurried over with Tang Wencheng. "Mr. Jiang, is there something important?" Zhang Xiu slowly walked out from the inner room. His body was covered with a layer of strange aura. This was the remnant of the power after cultivating the divine body. His eyes were like lightning, and his aura was oppressive. "What's the matter?" Tang Jinshan said with some embarrassment. "There's a problem in Wanji Guangcheng." "Qin Wei Ping?" Zhang Xiu sat down on the armchair in the classroom and gestured for Tang Jinshan to sit down as well. Tang Jinshan was old and had a broken arm, so it would be too strenuous for him to stand. As for Tang Wencheng, he could only stand. After Tang Jinshan sat down, he said, "Mr. Jiang only reached a verbal agreement with Qin Wei Ping that day." Zhang Xiu nodded. That was indeed the case. He did not sign a share transfer contract with Qin Wei Ping. And Tang Jinshan could be considered as a witness. "What's wrong? Did he go back on his word?" Tang Zhenshan frowned and said with difficulty, he sold the Wanji Guangqing project. Verbal agreements were not protected by the law. In other words, Qin Weiping was still the boss of Wanji in name, and he had the right to sell Wanji. In fact, Wanji basically belonged to Zhang Xiu. Qin Weiping was equivalent to cheating Zhang Xiu of more than 1 billion yuan, and with the current development of real estate, it was even more than 2 billion yuan. Zhang Xiu said, "No one can renege on this sovereign's money." Tang Zhenshan said, "It's not that simple. The Wanji project was originally settled by Mr. Jiang, and I was the middleman. Qin Weiping did not dare to do so. The problem lies with the buyer." "Oh," Tang Zhenshan said, "a few days ago, the Wang family of Jiangnan province intervened in this matter. After negotiation, Qin Weiping sold the Wanji project to the Wang family for a very low price of 100 million yuan. Wang Shuahai." Tang Zhenshan nodded helplessly. The Wang family must have given Mr. Jiang a warning because he did not go to Hangzhou. The market value of the Wanji project was more than 2 billion yuan, but it was sold for 100 million yuan. The Wang family was really good at doing business. Qin Weiping's remaining shares, even if the Wanji project was profitable, were worth only tens of millions at most. He was happy to be sold for 100 million yuan, but it seemed that they did not take Zhang Xiu seriously. Mr. Jiang, Wang Shuahai, is very ruthless, but he is very modest on the surface. You go to Hangzhou and pay a visit to him. Maybe you can get the Wanji project back." Zhang Xiu smiled faintly. "Really?" Tang Zhenshan lowered his voice and said, "The Wang family is not small. Mr. Jiang is very powerful, but the Wang family is said to have a demigod. They were a big family in the Republic of China. They have a very deep foundation. There is no need to get yourself into trouble." Zhang Xiu said, "Old Master Tang wants me to pay a visit to the Wang family. A wise man submits to circumstances." Zhang Xiu stood up and walked slowly to the window. His eyes fell on the wetland outside. "Of course I will pay a visit to the Wang family." That's good, that's good." Tang Zhenshan let out a long sigh of relief. He was really worried that Zhang Xiu, who was young and impetuous, would go against the Wang family. The Wang family was not like Rivertown, which was in a state of disunity. It was a martial arts family with nearly 200 years of inheritance. "You guys can go." Tang Zhenshan and Tang Wenchong saw that Zhang Xiu had asked them to leave, so they naturally did not stay. After being tricked by the Wang family, they expected that Zhang Xiu would be very angry. It would also be a great blow to his reputation. "Then we will take our leave first." What surprised Zhang Xiu was that not long after the Tang family left, Chang Lingsu called Zhang Xiu. Zhang Xiu picked up and asked, "What's the matter?" Chang Lingsu said, "Why? Your grades are clearly good. Why did you hide it from me?" Zhang Xiu said, "It seems that you have never asked me." Chang Lingsu was silent for a while, then said, "The college entrance exam is over. I want to go out and play, but my dad made a request. He wants me to bring you along. You should prepare." Zhang Xiu laughed involuntarily. "You want to go out and play, so I have to accompany you?" Chang Lingsu said, "We plan to go to Hangzhou to see the tide. These 2 days are the right time. After going around, we will discuss the itinerary. At that time, you can come back early." All right, spiritual cultivation was her key to travel. Once the door was opened, the key would be useless. She directly sent him back. She really did call him and send him away. However, it was really a coincidence that they were going to Hangzhou. Zhang Xiu said, "When are we leaving?" "Tomorrow morning at 7 o'clock, at the school gate. I will definitely be there as promised." He was going to Hangzhou, so it could be considered a free ride. Zhang Xiu had always been punctual. Moreover, his time could be accurate to the second. When it was 7 o'clock, he appeared at the school gate as promised. When he arrived, Yi Wanchen, Lin Shu, and a few other male classmates were there. As for the female students, Chang Lingsu, Ouyang Qian, and Li Donlu were all there. "All right, Since everyone is here, let's set off. Yi Wenchen said coldly. It was as if the failure of the exam did not affect him at all. On the contrary, it made him even calmer. Is everything ready in Hangzhou? Yi Wenchen asked. The owner of the excellent water resort is my dad's friend. I have already talked to him. Lin Shu's family was in the hotel business. They could be considered to be in the same line of business as the water resort. The group rented a bus. These people had been hanging out together for 3 years and had a very close relationship. A few male classmates gathered together to play cards, while the female classmates chattered non-stop. Only Zhang Xiu sat at the back, out of place. Su, why did you bring him along? He is such an eyesore. Ouyang Qian said. Chang Lingsu's beautiful eyebrows wrinkled. She also did not want to, but what could she do? She did not know what went wrong with her dad and insisted that she bring him along. After all, he is the top scorer. It is very likely that he will be in the same school as me in the future. You should build a good relationship with him as soon as possible. The girls helplessly rolled their eyes. Yi Wenchen, who was sitting in the front, heard it. The young man's heart was also very sensitive. He immediately became very unhappy. Hearing Chang Lingsu's tone, it seemed that she wanted to get closer to this guy. He could not help but say to Lin Shu, who was beside him, I underestimated that guy. He thought that Zhang Xiu had ulterior motives towards Chang Lingsu. Of course, in his eyes, Chang Lingsu's stunning beauty was very attractive. Zhang Xiu was naturally no exception. This guy is really good at enduring. After 3 years, he finally did this to me. This trick was quite effective. Chang Lingsu seemed to see him in a new light. Lin Shu patted his brother's shoulder and said, Don't worry, Su's standards are so high. How could she like him? Isn't he just good at studying? There are many people who can study. These days, the most important thing is one's background. How can he compare with us with just a diploma from Capital University? Maybe after graduation, he will ask us to arrange a job for him? Yi Wenchen laughed coldly. His dad was now the deputy mayor of Jiang City. 5 years later, if there were no accidents, he would be the mayor of Jiang City. By then, he would be the first young master of Jiang City. How could a poor student who opened a fruit stall compare with him? When we reach Hangzhou, I will play with him. Chapter 79. The tour bus drove directly to the resort area. This was a famous scenic spot with many tourists. As soon as the bus arrived, a man stood proudly with a group of hotel staff behind him. Lin Shu saw the man and excitedly rushed over. Brother Zheng, how could we trouble you to pick us up? Jiang City's deputy city's son, I have to give you this face no matter what. Lin Shu quickly introduced Yi Wenchen to the man. Brother Zheng, this is young Master Yi. This Brother Zheng was the son of Boss Zheng of Sand River. He was different from his father, who was big and burly. This son was handsome, but he seemed to be very arrogant. He only greeted Yi Wenchen and ignored the other boys. He didn't even bother to make friends with them. Zhang Xiu was even more disdainful. However, when he saw Chang Lingsu, his eyes lit up. Such a beautiful girl was really rare. The hotel has everything you need. If you need anything, just ask the manager and the staff. I'll tell them. Thank you, Brother Zheng. We're all brothers, no need to be so polite. But I have some things to take care of here. I'll be the host later and give you a good welcome. Before Brother Zheng left, he only said goodbye to Yi Wenchen and ignored everything else. This made Yi Wenchen feel superior, which made him feel a sense of superiority. Lin Shu said, Did you see young Master Yi? Even someone like young Master Zheng wants to be friends with you. That damn fruit stall owner doesn't even deserve to carry your shoes. Yi Wenchen's heart was filled with pride. Looking at the resort, half of it was luxurious and the other half was romantic. Not only was the scenery beautiful, but it was also very unique. It was the best in Jiangnan. Before they even entered the resort, they could hear cries of surprise coming from afar. The waves on Qiantang Lake were 3 to 4 meters high and were crashing towards the shore. The people who were watching the waves screamed excitedly and ran away. When the tide receded, they ran back to the shore to wait for the next wave. They were having a lot of fun. Zhang Xiu's eyes fell on the tide. When the tide swept over, it could be said to be stormy. However, looking from above, the tide rose and fell like someone was swallowing the world. "Zhang Xiu, hurry!" Cheng Lingsu called out to him. After entering the resort, everyone received their room cards. The others basically lived in villas, but Zhang Xiu lived in an ordinary single room, which was located in a corner. "Did you see that? There's no need to be polite to this kind of person." Lin Shu asked someone to arrange the worst room for Zhang Xiu to humiliate him. In the end, he didn't even dare to fart. "He's staying here for free. He thinks he's taking advantage of us." "Exactly." Lin Shu slapped his forehead and said in annoyance, "F***ck, I overestimated him." "Ha ha ha." The group of people roared with laughter, but they looked at Zhang Xiu with even more disdain. At this time, Zhang Xiu's face was still indifferent. He didn't come to Hongzhou to entertain Chang Lingsu, but to pay a visit to Wang Shuahai's pier. With a free car and a free room, why not? He didn't know where the Wang family was in Hongzhou, but it wasn't difficult for the famous Wang family to find out. He planned to go there after he had his meal. At noon, the welcoming banquet was held by the river bank. It had been raining for the past 2 days, so the weather was very cool. It didn't feel like summer at all. There was a middle-aged man with Brother Zhong. He was quite elegant. Brother Zhong even surrounded him. He seemed to be Brother Zhong's elder. He was Zhong Likan, the brother of Brother Zhong, and Brother Zhong's uncle. He came specifically to get to know Yi Wanchen. Yi Wanchen's father was promoted to deputy mayor and was in charge of land and urban construction. He controlled the lifeline of their business. "Master Yi, this is my uncle, Zhong Likan." "Hello, Mr. Zhong." "Ha ha ha, Master Yi, long time no see." As for the others, they were completely ignored. Yi Wanchen's EQ wasn't low. He introduced them. "These are my classmates. That's Chang Lingsu, the second daughter of the Chang clan group." Zhong Likan's expression changed. He immediately raised his glass and said, "The second daughter of the Chang clan group. Sorry for the disrespect." The Chang clan is the leader of the real estate industry in Jiangqing. They're also the leader in Jiangnan. Cheng Lingsu raised her glass. It was juice. She smiled lightly and said with a noble demeanor, "Uncle Zhong, you're too polite. Su Su is a junior. I'll need your help." I wouldn't dare. The Cheng clan was indeed powerful. It was mainly because they made a fortune when everyone was still poor. Also, Chang Hanlin was different from them. Chang Hanlin was a proper businessman, but they were all involved in the underworld. When they made a fortune, they robbed and robbed. Their hands were stained with blood. Everyone wanted to be kind, so they admired Chang Hanlin from the bottom of their hearts. "Lin Shu, don't you want to know about Mr. Zhong?" Brother Zhong said, "My uncle was there when the Dao soldiers of the eastern state gathered. Maybe he can tell you a thing or two." "Really?" Lin Shu didn't say anything. Ouyang Qian and the other girls were already shouting excitedly. Cheng Lingsu's beautiful eyes also lit up. Mr. Zhong's reputation in Rivertown was like thunder to the ears. Everyone said that his words were more effective than the government's documents. He was a man of his word and kept his promises. Zhong Likanru said deeply, "Mr. Zhong is not to be talked about. It's not convenient for me to say anything." Hearing this, everyone present was disappointed. They understood that they were still not qualified to ask about Mr. Zhong. It was a taboo to call the names of those in power directly in ancient times. They also followed this rule, and no one dared to call Mr. Zhong as Zhong Luoluo. If they directly called him by his name, it would be a challenge. Therefore, everyone respectfully called him Mr. Zhong. They didn't even dare to mention his name, let alone casually discuss his affairs. They were already his people. If they were to reveal his identity, these people would go out and spread a bunch of rumors. Wouldn't it be a great disrespect to Sir Jiang? Seeing that Yi Wanchen was also disappointed, Brother Zhong didn't have such great respect for Mr. Jiang. He said, "Second uncle, tell everyone a little. Don't say anything. Look, young Master Yi came with great difficulty. He wanted to talk to his second uncle. This was the son of the deputy mayor. He had to have a good relationship with him." Zhongli Conru thought for a moment and said, "Okay, then I'll reveal a little." Seeing that Zhongli Conru was willing to say something, everyone was happy. However, his tone and attitude inexplicably made everyone present feel a sense of respect. They couldn't help but put down their chopsticks and sit up straight. That day was the annual Taoist soldier gathering. What you children saw was the most beautiful side of the world. A harmonious society and a prosperous city. However, under this appearance, there is a bloody reality. The most primitive fighting has never completely disappeared. Zhongli Conru slowly explained the situation that day. Of course, he only saw the surface of many things. However, the students were intoxicated. Is there really someone who can cultivate martial arts to such a level? Zhongli Conru said, "Of course there is. I saw it with my own eyes. I'll give you a little more information. In this world, there is a list called the demigod list. The people on the list are either martial arts, supernatural abilities, or spells. In short, they are all very powerful. They are like half-gods. That's why it's called the demigod list. This wasn't made by our country. It was passed down from World War I. It said that our country has 3 people on the list." The students felt as if they were listening to a story from another world. Ouyang Qian asked, "Then is Mr. Jiang on the list?" Zhongli Conru thought for a moment and said, "I think that Mr. Jiang's ability is enough to be on the list. However, I haven't seen the real experts on the list fight." He originally wanted to say something. It was said that the Wang family had a demigod on the list. Is Mr. Jiang really that powerful? Yi Wanchen was a little doubtful. Zhongli Conru shook his head. Mr. Jiang's ability is not something you can imagine. Thinking back to that day, Jiang Xiu flew up and stepped on the void. He caught up with the helicopter in an instant. He felt his heart tremble. He was really like a god. Squeak, squeak, squeak. Just now, they were so engrossed in the food that they didn't pay attention to it. Now that they saw it, Yi Wanchen and the others were furious. Cheng Lingsu frowned and lowered her head. It was too embarrassing. From the beginning, she had been eating as if she hadn't eaten anything for 8 lifetimes. The food on the table was piled up like a small mountain. Ouyang Qian and the other girls looked at her with disdain. Zhongli Conru was also very unhappy. He was talking about Mr. Jiang and this person was being so presumptuous. However, when he looked at him coldly, his expression changed. Jiang, Jiang, Jiang. It was hard to say what he wanted to say. Chapter 80. Jiang Xiu glanced at Zhongli Kansas. This glance was enough to take Zhongli Kan's life. He was already scared stiff. Jiang Xiu teased, "That Mr. Jiang, is he really that powerful?" "No, he's just 2 eyes and a mouth." Brother Zhong frowned and said coldly, "Shut up. Mr. Jiang isn't someone you can tease. Mr. Jiang can cause a storm in Jiang City with just a few words and no one dares to go against him. A small fry like you will never be able to imagine how terrifying Mr. Jiang's power is. If you're ignorant, you have to learn to be humble. Don't let me hear your voice again, including the sound of you eating." Towards the end, he was already very rude. Seeing that Jiang Xiu was being scolded by Brother Zhong, Yi Wanchen and the others all looked at him with gloating eyes. Cheng Lingsu frowned. Although her relationship with Jiang Xiu was still hidden, she still felt very embarrassed. Slap. Zhong Li Can suddenly slapped him. It was loud and crisp. Just hearing the sound made one feel the pain. Brother Zhong was stunned. His face was blank. Second uncle. This slap made Brother Zhong stunned. Yi Wanchen and Cheng Lingsu were also stunned. What was going on? Zhong Likan actually stood up for Jiang Xiu and hit his own nephew? Zhong Likan's mind was filled with thoughts. From the surrounding people's attitude towards Mr. Jiang, they definitely didn't know that the person in front of them was Mr. Jiang. Since Mr. Jiang didn't reveal his identity, he didn't dare to say anything. Is this how you talk to a guest? Although Brother Zhong was unhappy, he understood that his family had to maintain a good relationship with Yi Wanchen. Jiang Xiu was Yi Wanchen's friend. If he didn't give him face, he wouldn't give Yi Wanchen any face. Second uncle, I was wrong. Everyone present also understood what was going on. So it was because he wanted to build a good relationship with young Master Yi. Everyone couldn't help but look at Yi Wanchen. Their gazes were filled with admiration. Yi Wanchen felt as if his entire body was burning. Even a big shot like Zhong Likan had slapped his nephew in order to curry favor with him. As for Zhong Likan, he wanted to make up for his nephew's recklessness as soon as possible. Without waiting for Zhong Likan to apologize, Jiang Xiu wiped his mouth. He was almost done eating. This place doesn't seem to welcome me, everyone. Please enjoy your meal, I still have things to do. Yi Wanchen and the others laughed in their hearts. At least you know your place. But what they didn't expect was that when they saw Jiang Xiu leave the table, Zhong Likan's face turned completely white. He hurriedly got up and chased after him. His legs were trembling, and he almost fell. He even knocked over the chair behind him. It must be known that Zhong Likan was a martial arts practitioner. What's going on? If it was said that Zhong Likan had taught Brother Zhong a lesson because he wanted to curry favor with Yi Wanchen, then now that the main character was here, why would he chase after an insignificant small fry? Furthermore, what the hell was that look of fear on his face? Mr. Jiang. After Zhong Likan chased after him, he was extremely nervous. Mr. Jiang has graced us with your presence. We are extremely fearful. Just now, my nephew didn't know that it was Mr. Jiang. Please forgive him. Jiang Xiu lightly said. Discipline him. Yes. Zhong Likan's forehead was dripping with cold sweat. His nephew's offense couldn't be forgotten so easily. Mr. Jiang really couldn't be offended at all. According to what he knew, Tang Tao had offended Jiang Xiu, and the next day, he was thrown out by the Tang family as a corpse. Although his nephew's situation wasn't as serious as Tang Tao's, the Zhong family still had to make a statement. I'll inform my brother to come over. No need. Jiang Xiu waved his hand and left unhurriedly, walking towards the entrance of the villa area. Zhong Likan stood where he was, feeling conflicted. He knew that Jiang Xiu wouldn't appear here for no reason. There must be something going on. Recently, there was a rumor that the Wang family seemed to be dissatisfied with Jiang Luoxia. His resort was in Hangzhou. Could it be, "Hey brother, Mr. Jiang came to our resort. Looks like there's something going on." Could it be that he's going to visit the Wang family? Boss Zhong said. Visit? If Mr. Jiang wants to visit Mr. Wang, wouldn't that be earth-shattering? How could he go there alone? Suddenly he shouted, "Oh no, something big is going to happen." Jiang Xiu walked to the entrance of the resort. A beautiful girl with long hair and a white dress was waiting for a car. She was wearing a pair of white high heels. This pair of shoes was a top French luxury brand called Belle Fair. It was made of real silk, imitation crystal, and other high-end products. It was the favorite of many noble ladies. Although he didn't know where this girl came from, judging from her dressing, she must be a rich and beautiful girl from an extraordinary family. Jiang Xiu asked, "Excuse me, how can I get to the Wang family from here, the Wang family of the Wang group?" The beautiful girl's beautiful eyes looked at Jiang Xiu from behind her sunglasses. "You're going to the Wang family?" Jiang Xiu nodded. "Do you know how to get there?" The beautiful girl said, "I know where the Wang family is, but I don't know how to get there." Before she finished speaking, a doorman drove a red Ferrari over. "Miss Wang, your car." The beautiful girl got into the Porsche, turned around and said to Jiang Xiu, "Are you going to ask the Wang family for help? Listen to my advice, there are dozens of people coming to the Wang family for help every day, if not 100, and the Wang family's threshold is broken. People like you probably can't even see the face of a manager." It's better to rely on yourself than others. With that, he stepped on the accelerator and the Porsche sped away, leaving behind a pile of exhaust. The doorman on the side said with a smile, "Are you stunned? Do you know who she is? Miss Wang Xintong of the Wang family." This doorman was very good at stealing the show. Jiang Xiu didn't ask him a single question from beginning to end, but he answered his own question. "Brother, you missed a very good opportunity to curry favor with the Wang family. If Miss Wang is willing to lead the way for you, you can do anything." Jiang Xiu said, "Really? How do I get to the Wang family by car?" The doorman said, "That's complicated. This is a semi-suburban area, and I'm afraid you have to transfer several cars to get to the Wang family." The villa had a special car to send guests back to the city, but the doorman said nothing about Jiang Xiu's tattered clothes. At most, he was an ordinary resident. "Can I rent a car?" The doorman said, "Rent a car. There's no car, but there are motorcycles for guests to ride, but most of them can't be driven too far. They're just around the villa area, and the price is not low." Jiang Xiu said, "Hurry up." After paying the deposit, Jiang Xiu got on the motorbike and sped out of the villa area. Since the beauty was a member of the Wang family, of course, he would be able to get to the Wang family by following her. Jiang Xiu had learned how to ride a motorbike in his previous life. At that time, he lived with Cheng Lingran. Perhaps it was fate that he and Cheng Lingran were like his parents, born in an extraordinary family. However, they lived a very lonely life far away from their families. He learned how to ride a motorbike so that he could deliver food, but Cheng Lingran never complained. And now, he was the dignified leader of Qianxing School, the Protoss's body. Sitting on the motorbike, it was as if his body was one with the motorbike. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The motorbike was so fast that it ran out of friends. At the red light at the entrance of the villa area, Jiang Xiu saw the red Porsche sports car. There was a song playing in the car, and Wang Xintong was singing along softly. In the distance, the tide of Qiantang was constantly stirring up wind and waves. The sound of crashing waves could be heard, and the air was filled with a refreshing water vapor. It was very pleasant. The sound of the motor broke the beautiful atmosphere. She turned her head and saw the handsome young man dressed like a loser stop beside her on a black motorbike. The man's side profile was as firm as marble. His hair was flying in the wind, and his nose was high. He looked very cool, especially his dark eyes that seemed to carry a cold light. He deliberately turned the engine, and the sound of the motorbike roared non-stop, full of provocation. "Humph, interesting." Wang Xintong also put the car in gear and stepped on the brakes. The roar of the car burst out. Miss Wang's sports car had been modified. Anyone who was in the know would be able to tell that this car was extraordinary. The red light was already counting down to 3. Soon it would turn green. There was a deep puddle about 30 meters away from the red and green lights. Whoever fell behind would definitely be splashed with mud. 2, 1, whoosh. The Porsche's acceleration reached an astonishing level, and the motorbike's tires were spinning at high speed in the air. When it was lowered, the car seemed to fly out. Chapter 81. The moment the red light turned green, the Porsche and the motorcycle rushed out at the same time. They were as fast as lightning, and the low roar of the car turned into a blast of air. Whoosh, whoosh. Wang Xintong's competitive spirit was also aroused. She was very confident in herself. The modified sports car only took 3 seconds to go from 1 to 100 kilometers per hour. The moment the car charged out, the strong pushing force pressed her to the seat and made it difficult for her to move. But from the corner of her eye, she saw the motorcycle beside her roaring against the sky. It was like an angry tyrannosaurus. The armored body gave it unparalleled strength, and it rushed past her, leaving behind a series of afterimages. Oh, oh, oh. Only the sound of the motorcycle tearing through the air was left in her ears. Whoosh. Then she saw the muddy water in front of her being swept up by the wheels. As her Porsche rushed past, the muddy water fell on the car. Fortunately, she specially rolled up the hood, or this time it would be terrible. But the car was splashed with mud. Wang Xintong boasted of her excellent driving skills, but this was a great insult to her. How could she bear it? She stepped on the accelerator and the Porsche rushed forward. Because the motorcycle was light, it was definitely faster in the front. But after 30 meters, it was immediately overtaken. Seeing the puddle in front of her, Wang Xintong's wheels ran into it without hesitation. The muddy water immediately splashed and sprayed toward Jiang Xiu beside her. Jiang Xiu saw the water splashing toward him. He leaned his body slightly, and the motorcycle was almost 30 degrees from the ground. The motorcycle sped up and rushed under the muddy water. He dodged it. A trace of surprise flashed through Wang Xintong's beautiful eyes. She couldn't help but turn her head. The man on the motorcycle glanced at her indifferently. His appearance was indescribably arrogant, and it made Wang Xintong even more furious. Seeing the puddle in front of her, her face turned cold. She calculated the time and stepped on the accelerator to rush over. Jiang Xiu beside her with a whoosh, was one step faster than her, and entered the puddle first. After entering the puddle, Jiang Xiu did a half brake and lifted the rear wheel slightly. The tire rotated quickly and came into contact with the water. The muddy water swept up was not just splashed, but with a strong force, it could be said that it sprayed directly toward the Porsche. Wang Xintong's pretty face tensed up when she saw the dirty water filling the sky. She had lost again. The dirty water sprayed onto the car. Whoosh, whoosh. The two of them, one in front, one in the back, and one in the front, continued to stagger forward. Along the way, the dirty water splashed up like flowers, but the one who suffered every time was Wang Xintong, while that D*MN loser's body was not splashed with any mud at all. Wang Xintong was furious. Even the German racing god had praised her driving skills, but she couldn't do anything to a loser. What was even more hateful was that he was riding an unmodified motorcycle. He couldn't help but glance at the man. Spiritual Cultivation's eyes were cold as a statue. If you agree to a bet, you must accept your loss. Wang Xintong slowed down and drove home. When they arrived at the Wang family's garden, Wang Xintong got out of the car and stared at Jiang Xiu beside the motorcycle. She said with a cold expression, "You're riding a good bike." Jiang Xiu said, "Better than you." Very unique. Wang Xintong found that Jiang Xiu was not only handsome on the bike, but also had a mysterious temperament. He was very attractive, but his clothes made him look a little ordinary. It's a pity that no matter how unique he is, he has to bow in front of the Wang family, Jiang Xiu said. Is that so? He looked straight at the 200-year-old garden in front of him. It covered a vast area, comparable to a village. In front of the Wang family's garden, as Wang Xintong said, it was crowded with people. I want to ask the Wang family to save my mother's life. I want to ask the Wang family to mediate the dispute between me and Rueli Group. I want to do a job in the Wang family, Wang Xintong said. See? These people are all here to ask the Wang family to do something for them. My mother's life is in danger. I've been to all the hospitals, Western medicine, Chinese medicine, and even the witch doctors in Africa. Now only the Wang family can save my mother's life. Someone on the side said, "How can you persuade the Wang family?" That person said, "I have money. If 1 million is not enough, I'll use 10 million. If 10 million is not enough, I'll use 100 million. I don't believe that 100 million can't break the Wang family's door." Someone laughed. 100 million is nothing. Even if you have 1 billion, the Wang family won't care. The Wang family has a heritage of more than 200 years. Money and gold are nothing to the Wang family. Ha! That person's face turned pale. Wang Xintong crossed her arms in front of her chest. Did you hear that? Do you know what kind of existence the Wang family is? If you want to ask the Wang family to do something for you, perhaps you can use the most ancient method. Kneel and don't get up. If you're lucky and there's another thunderstorm, kneel for 3 days and 3 nights under lightning and thunder. The Wang family may be merciful enough to help you. Jiang Xiu laughed loudly. His laughter was not in harmony with the current scene. He said, "Who said that I'm here to ask the Wang family to do something for me? Wang Xintong was surprised. Then why are you here at the Wang family? Zhang Xiu took a step forward and shouted angrily, Jiang Luoxia of Jiangqing is here to pay a visit to the Wang family's patriarch, Wang Shuahai. Boom! His voice was like a sudden clap of thunder. It spread out with a loud bang, as if it was exploding in the sky. The momentum was astonishing, and the thunder was loud and clear. It was like a giant cannon had been fired. It shook the eardrums of everyone present, making them feel dizzy and shocked. You! The surrounding people were dumbfounded. This person was too arrogant. He dared to provoke the Wang family in public. Wang Xintong stared at Zhang Xiu with her beautiful eyes wide open. Her face was full of disbelief. You're Jiang Luoxia. Recently, the name she heard the most was Jiang Luoxia, a person who rose like a comet in Jiangqing. No one in Jiangqing dared to disobey him. Moreover, because of this person, he didn't even come to the Wang family to pay his respects. This thunderous voice was like a bomb falling into the Wang family's garden. Instantly, the place was in an uproar. Countless people rushed out of their rooms and approached quickly. How many years had it been since someone dared to come to the Wang family and behave atrociously? At this moment, the spiritual cultivation's hair was flying. His eyes seemed to be flashing with electricity. He stood proudly, no longer looking ordinary. The so-called spiritual cultivation was the supreme master of the world. He showed off his ability and looked down on the world. Jiang Luoxia of Jiangqing. Wang Xintong's eyes were wide open. She was furious. This guy was actually Jiang Luoxia. Why did the Jiang Luoxia who didn't come to pay his respects to the Wang family seem to be a different person? If Zhang Xiu was covered with a layer of mystery just now, this mysterious aura was completely revealed now. The unparalleled posture of spiritual cultivation. In the garden, many disciples of the Wang family rushed out. For a family that passed down martial arts, no matter how big the garden was, it only took them a few minutes to rush over. Jiang Luoxia, how dare you come to the Wang family and behave atrociously? The person who spoke was a man in his 40s. What's wrong? Zhang Xiu looked back slowly. There was a cold light in his eyes. He looked indescribably arrogant. What kind of forbidden place is the Wang family? I, Jiang Luoxia, can't come here? In this world, there was no place that spiritual cultivation couldn't go, and there was no place that he didn't dare to go. The Wang family was just a bunch of useless people. He looked up and said in a cold tone, the Wang family dared to snatch my property in Wanzhiguang City. Today, I will let the Wang family know the consequences of offending me, Jiang Luoxia. Oh, so you came here because of Wanzhiguang City. The middle-aged man chuckled. The Wang family spent 100 million to buy Wanzhiguang City. The contract was signed in black and white. Jiang Luoxia, you said that Wanzhiguang City is yours. Do you have the document? If you don't, it means that you have no proof. If you have the ability, go to the court and sue us. If you win, we lose. How dare you come to the Wang family and yell? Don't tell me that you, Jiang Luoxia, also want to roll on the ground and make a scene like a scoundrel in the marketplace. Before he finished speaking, Zhang Xiu suddenly moved. At this moment, it was as if time and space had stopped. Bang! There was a loud explosion. The middle-aged man was directly sent flying. Zhang Xiu said a word softly. A sharp white light flashed between his sword fingers. Then he said, "Cut." The middle-aged man who was flying in the air didn't have time to let out a scream. His whole body had been penetrated by the white sword light. With a bang, he hit the red lacquer and rolled down. He couldn't be more dead. Hiss! Everyone was stunned. The members of the Wang family couldn't believe their eyes. He was dead. He was dead. Chapter 82. Blood was flowing on the red lacquer door, and the bodies on the ground were a ghastly sight. At this moment, it was as if the air had frozen. The entire Wang family trembled in fear. The people who came to ask the Wang family for help were all stunned. Someone dared to go against the Wang family and even killed a member of the Wang family. What was going on? Wang Xintong's beautiful eyes almost popped out of their sockets. You. How dare you kill a member of the Wang family in front of the Wang family? How dare you? Zhang Xiu glanced at her with disdain. Didn't the Wang family steal the Wanji Guangqing project and force me, Jiang Luoxia, to pay my respects to you? Today, I'll pay my respects to the Wang family. After that, he strode toward the Wang family's door. You want to enter the Wang family? Do you think you're worthy? A figure rushed out from the courtyard like a cheetah. His body soared into the air like a ferocious tiger descending from the mountain. He threw a punch in the air. Bang! A shadow of a fist appeared on his fist. The energy burst out and broke the airflow around his fist inch by inch. A faint light flickered as if it could break gold and jade. It's Wang Xueli, the Iron Fist of the Wang family. He has reached the transcendent state in martial arts and is only half a step away from becoming a demigod. He's a real demigod substitute. Someone recognized him on the spot. This kid is doomed. How dare he come to the Wang family to cause trouble and kill someone? He's courting death. Kill him. Wang Xintong's eyes were also filled with hatred. Whoosh! A white light burst out from Zhang Xiu's hand. It danced in the air like a long sword, bringing with it a waterfall. It directly slashed towards Wang Xueli, who was rushing towards the fierce tiger descending the mountain. Rip! The beam of light was invincible. Wherever it passed, everything was sliced in half. Wang Xueli watched in horror as his flesh was sliced like tofu. His entire body was sliced in half by the white light. The force that burst forth from the beam of light caused his corpse to explode in the air. Ah! Before he could even let out a scream, he had already been killed. The entire Wang family was dumbfounded. The transcendent grandmaster of the second generation of the Wang family couldn't even withstand one attack? What level had Jiang Luoxia reached? Was he at the peak of the transcendent state? Or was he a demigod? The Wang family is just a bunch of useless people. How dare you bully us? The expressions of the Wang family members changed drastically once more. How dare he kill the members of the Wang family again and again? Noisy! Zhang Xiu took another step forward. With a bang, the man was sent flying backward. A gust of violent qi gushed out from his back. His chest was twisted and sunken as he died in the air. Bang! The body fell to the ground with a heavy thud. Zhang Xiu took another step forward and waved a hand at the Wang family member who was rushing toward him. A white light flashed by and the man's body fell forward. He fell to the ground and lay there motionless. A line of blood could be seen across his face. The fourth step was taken and another man died on the spot. With every step Zhang Xiu took, he killed a person. In a blink, he had taken 18 steps and killed 18 members of the Wang family. There was no one left in front of him. He crossed the Wang family's gate and stepped into the Wang family's territory with his hands clasped behind his back. At this moment, everyone's face changed color and exclaimed in shock. Wang Xintong's face turned pale and her body trembled. Powerful, too powerful. Jiang Luoxia from Rivertown is so powerful. As far as the eye could see, wherever he passed, corpses would litter the ground and blood would flow like a river. The lives of more than a dozen people were cut away like grass. He was like a demon. Just like a demon. After stepping into the Wang family, he didn't stop walking. It was as if he was strolling in his own backyard. However, his murderous aura suppressed the entire Wang family's garden. The corpses on the ground seemed to be burying the entire Wang family. What can I do when I enter the Wang family's gate? Wang Xintong was dumbfounded. Her mouth was full of bitterness. She didn't expect the loser young man she met at the resort to be Jiang Luoxia from Rivertown. She also didn't expect this person to be so cruel and powerful. It was the first time she had seen someone so powerful. How dare you be so presumptuous in the Wang family? Following this voice, the elders in the Wang family's inner courtyard rushed over with a group of disciples. When they saw Jiang Xiu killing his way into the house, whoosh 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 whoosh, many figures rushed over. Some were tall, some were strong, some were young, and some were old. All of them were full of vigor. They were all top-notch masters. There were several grandmasters. The young ones were all at least internal force. Their aura was overwhelming. This is the power of the Wang family. No matter how strong Zhang Luoxia is, he's still alone. He's going to lose. The leading elder glanced at Jiang Xiu. He already knew what kind of person the young man in front of him was. Mr. Jiang, what a good Mr. Jiang. You killed more than 10 people from the Wang family without any reason. Jiang Xiu said, only the Wang family is allowed to rob my Wanji Guangqing, but I, Zhang Luoxia, am not allowed to kill your Wang family members. What kind of logic is this? The elder's eyes flashed fiercely. Zhang Luoxia, you didn't know the rules. You didn't come to the Wang family to pay your respects. Mr. Wang is only giving you a small punishment. Ha ha ha, Jiang Xiu laughed. Then I killed your Wang family members. That's also because your Wang family didn't know the rules. You didn't kneel and pay your respects to me. Presumptuous. How dare you humiliate the Wang family? Jiang Xiu's smile disappeared. A murderous look appeared on his face. In an instant, the world was filled with killing intent. Humiliate. You're too naive. The consequence of offending Zhang Luoxia is only humiliation. Kneel and submit. Maybe I'll take pity on you. You're courting death. A man from the Wang family behind the elder flew into a rage. The Wang family had been powerful for many years and had a very respected status. When Gu Shu took office, he didn't go to his office first. Instead, he went to the Wang family's dock to pay his respects. He didn't expect that a small boss from Rivertown would dare to be so presumptuous in the Wang family. Follow me and kill him. At the man's command, more than 10 people behind him attacked at the same time. There were a few grandmasters among them. The onlookers at the door sighed. The Wang family's foundation was too strong. Not to mention the rumors of a demigod suppressing the family. With these grandmasters around, no one dared to provoke them. Looking at the dozen people in the sky, Jiang Xiu stood still. It seemed like a moment had passed, but it also seemed like a century had passed. Then he slowly raised his eyes. His right hand turned into a sword and slashed in the air. A ray of sword light and a green lotus appeared. The world became pure and holy. A lotus leaf drifted with the wind. The lotus leaf emitted a bit of light and slowly floated past the charging crowd. Bang, bang, bang. The light was like an exploding bullet. Ah! A series of blood-curdling screams rang out continuously. Fresh blood spurted out from the bodies of more than 10 people. Some were split in half by the light, some had their chests pierced by the light, and some had their throats slit. They died. The lotus leaf drifted with the wind and slowly faded until it disappeared without a trace. The crowd was dead silent. In just a moment, Zhang Luoxia of Rivertown killed 13 people in a row. They didn't even have the ability to struggle or resist. No one was spared. Boundless pressure pressed down on their hearts. Life was so fragile in front of him. A top-level grandmaster or a demigod? At this moment, everyone was so shocked that they couldn't say a word. Panic hit them like a tidal wave. It's impossible. He's still so young. How can he be a demigod? Wang Xintong was completely dumbfounded. Does the Wang family's elder think that this sovereign's gift is good enough? Jiang Xiu stood there proudly. His murderous aura made it so that no one dared to force him. If you're satisfied, then accept it. If you're not, I'll give you more. The Wang family elder's face was ashen. The corner of his mouth twitched violently. He said, Mr. Jiang, you're too cruel. The Wang family only gave you a few billion yuan in worldly goods at most, but you killed nearly 30 people of the Wang family. The Wang family had been around for more than 200 years, but they had never met such a ruthless and domineering opponent. At this moment, there was only bitterness in their mouths. Jiang Xiu said, "Who do you think I, Jiang Luoxia, am? Do you think I'm someone the Wang family can bully? Those who offend me, Jiang Luoxia, will regret it for the rest of their lives." At this moment, spiritual cultivation was the true master of Qianqing school. Domineering beyond compare. The Wang family elder said with a gloomy face, "What do you want?" Jiang Xiu said, "I don't want much. The Wang family will kneel down and give me 70% of your Wang family's property." Chapter 83. As soon as Jiang Xiu finished speaking, the people behind him almost exploded. The elder of the Wang family glared at him and said, "Why don't you ask for all the properties of the Wang family?" The family had been passed down for 200 years and stood tall in Jiangnan. It was a big family with a big business. They didn't care about money because they were never short of money. But if they didn't have money, how could this ancient family continue? It was simply asking for the lifeblood of the Wang family. Jiang Xiu's face turned cold. "So, you don't want to give it to me?" The elder of the Wang family said, "Mr. Jiang's cultivation is indeed awe-inspiring. The Wang family is willing to sit down and talk with Mr. Jiang. However, Mr. Jiang's request is too much." Jiang Xiu said lightly, "I'm not negotiating with you. I'm ordering you." The oppressive murderous aura swept over once again. An elder on the side sneered. "Arrogant. Third brother, why are you wasting time with him? He killed so many members of the Wang family. If he wants to talk, we can't just let him go. Boy, don't think that you have some cultivation. You are at most at the peak of transforming strength. If I'm not wrong, what you used just now should be the ancient sword technique," he said confidently. "Do you really think that the Wang family can't do anything to you? You're still too young. Although the Wang family passes down martial arts, our ancestor is a master of magic." He looked to be about 60 years old. He was dressed in a black robe and had an elegant temperament, which was very different from the other members of the Wang family. As soon as he said that, everyone understood who this person was. Wang Yidao of the Wang family. He was a top master hiding in a big family. His face turned serious. He suddenly pinched a spell, and a flame spurted out from his hand. The next moment, it grew to the size of a basketball and burned fiercely, distorting the surrounding air. He stood proudly with the flame in his hand, like a god who controlled fire. Hua! The surrounding people were in an uproar. They had never seen such a method before. It was truly godly. Not to mention the people outside who asked the Wang family for help. Even the children of the Wang family had never seen it before. Wang Xintong covered her mouth and cried out involuntarily. She had finally seen a real great wizard. "Do you think the Wang family is a place where you can behave atrociously?" As the flames burned brightly, Wang Yidao's aura surged again and again. He took a step forward and the flames surged. With another step, the flames surged again. The flames soared a full meter into the sky. "Commoners, if you don't kneel now, when will you? Do you want to have a taste of my divine fire?" A cold light flashed in Jiang Xiu's eyes. Instead of advancing, he retreated. Step by step, a faint smile hung on his marble-like face. "You're courting death." Wang Yidao pinched a spell and pointed at Jiang Xiu. The flame strangely rushed toward Jiang Xiu. The flame seemed to stretch infinitely and suddenly turned into a long red flame dragon rushing out. This showed that his cultivation was profound. He should have reached the middle stage of foundation establishment. His cultivation was far above the young state preceptor and the others. No wonder the Wang family was so famous. The flame was hot and violent. Under this attack, the flesh and blood of human beings would probably be burned into ashes. As expected of the Wang family. It's really terrible. Whoever wanted to go against the Wang family would have to properly weigh their own weight. Brother Condor, it's just a small trick. Jiang Xiu's eyes were filled with disdain. Under everyone's dumbfounded gazes, he casually made a grabbing motion, and the fire dragon-like scarlet flame suddenly entered his palm, turning into sparks and disappearing without a trace. Wang Yidao's flame could blow up a tree as thick as a person and even a small hut in an instant. Such a power was really not weaker than throwing out a grenade, but it was broken by bare hands. He broke the spell with bare hands? Wang Yidao's eyes almost popped out and he cried out involuntarily. How is it possible? This was the means of a demigod. In the books left by their ancestors, it was even said that there were not many demigods who could do this, and it was very difficult for them to do it. It was understated as if it was not an instinct. Only a real god could have such a means. The others were also shocked. However, that was not all. Zhang Xiu flipped his palm, and the flames in his palm suddenly surged out. It was as if the flames from before had all been sucked into his palm and then released. Moreover, they were even more ferocious and intense. In the red flame, a fire dragon rushed out angrily. It danced in the air and swept toward Wang Yidao. Roar! It seemed to be accompanied by a terrible dragon roar. Ah! When Wang Yidao saw the fire dragon rushing toward him, he hurriedly stretched out his hand to block it. The flame was merciless and burned. His flame could blow up a small hut, but Zhang Xiu's flame was enough to blow up a big house. The power was beyond Wang Yidao's imagination. In an instant, his whole body was burned to ashes. The fire dragon rushed over without slowing down, only leaving a human-shaped shadow on the ground. Not even ashes were left. He was shocked. He was truly shocked. This kind of flame, the high temperature and the great power, was like a legend. Demigod. The mouth of the Wang family's elder trembled. He didn't know what kind of existence a demigod was, but the flame that Zhang Xiu used was not something that a human could do. The eyes of the people looking at the man in the field could no longer be calm. Zhang Luoxia of Rivertown's supernatural power was up to this point. Zhang Xiu looked at the Wang family with interest and said, "How about this gift to pay respects to the doc?" The corners of the Wang family's elder's mouth twitched. His expression was uglier than a ghost's. "Didn't you force people to pay respects to the doc? Now you're here." However, this result was not something that an ordinary person could bear. "Mr. Zhang, please wait a moment. I will pass on this gift to my family head. As for the transfer of 70% of the Wang family's assets, there will be an answer." Zhang Xiu shook his head and said, "No, it's not 70%, it's 80%. Wow. In just a short while, it had increased by 10%. 10% of the Wang family's assets. How ruthless. Everyone in the Wang family was infuriated. "You." He didn't say anything else. He knew that if he continued to talk nonsense, Zhang Xiu would increase it further. "Okay, just you wait." The Wang family's elder, Wang Xuesong, rushed to the inner courtyard of the Wang family. When the news reached the inner courtyard, there was an uproar. The family head, Wang Xuehai, immediately called for a meeting. 70%? He must be crazy for money. Who does he think he is? What else is there to say? Family head, gather all the powerhouses of the Wang family. We have so many sorcerers and great grandmasters. Are you afraid that we can't kill a mere Zhang Luoxia from River City? Some were in favor of war, while others were in favor of peace. The problem now is that Zhang Luoxia might be a demigod. Is the Wang family going to make an enemy out of a demigod? He just wants money. We'll give it to him. Another hot-tempered elder said, "Is it a matter of money now? It's a matter of the Wang family's reputation. He's riding on our heads. How can the Wang family maintain its dignity? Let's not talk about other things. He killed Wang Yidao's elder brother. If the Wang family tolerates this, no one will dare to take the Wang family of Jiangnan seriously in the future." An elder sitting at the head of the table said, "All right, everyone, be quiet. Everything will be decided by the old lady and the family head." Everyone's attention was focused on the old lady and Wang Xuehai. Wang Xuehai was the family head, but he had an old mother. The old lady had a head full of white hair. She was probably over 100 years old, but she was still in high spirits. She stood up and walked back and forth in the hall. She didn't even need anyone to help her walk. She muttered, "I've seen a demigod before. He's really extraordinary and not someone humans can fight against. He can move freely and there's no way to surround him. But you said that he's only a young man in his 20s. He can't be a demigod at such a young age. But he killed more than 30 members of the Wang family, including 7 grandmasters. Even Wang Yidao was killed. Now, regardless of whether he's a demigod or not, the door of the tide-watering god of the Wang family must be open for him. Pass down my order. Open the door. Welcome the guest." All the elders present were shocked. The door of the tide-watering god hadn't been opened even when Gu Shu came. It had been more than 60 years since it was opened. Today, it was opened for a brat who was still wet behind the ears. Bang! The glass and wood chips in the hall all exploded. Everyone in the hall was shocked. A disciple ran in. "Oh no, Zhang Luoxia is here." Chapter 84. A thunderous voice sounded, "Zhang Luoxia of Jiang City has come to the Wang family of Jiangnan to pay a visit to the head of the Wang family, Wang Shuahai." With this voice, Jiang Xiu had already stepped through the door of the so-called God's aid of the Wang family and walked in at a leisurely pace. Seeing Jiang Xiu barge in directly, the members of the Wang family all looked over in shock. They saw a tall young man who looked about 20 years old, with glittering golden talismans on his hands, looking mysterious and unpredictable. Suddenly, the talismans gathered together, and as his fingers opened, a violent force surged out like a wave. The disciples who were still blocking outside the house were sent flying in the air. "How dare you!" The elders of the Wang family in the hall all rushed forward, while the sorcerers behind them gathered their mana, intending to cast spells to put pressure on him. Break! None of the people who stood in front of Jiang Xiu could stand. The violent airflow rushed straight into the house, shaking the entire antique attic and almost collapsing. What a strong force! Wang Shuahai's long robe was blown up by the strong wind. His feet were rooted to the ground like nails, and he clasped his hands and said, "Mr. Jiang, we are honored by your presence. I apologize for not coming out to meet you." Jiang Xiu looked at him with interest. "I heard that all the leaders of the Jiangnan province will come to visit the Wang family of Jiangnan. I also followed the rules." Wang Shuahai's face was livid. "Mr. Jiang, I apologize for my rudeness." His words were meant to be an apology, but it was very implicit. If they had known that Jiang Xiu was so powerful, the Wang family would never have stirred up this hornet's nest. But it was too late to say anything now. "Xuesong, go and bring me the property rights of Wanzhiguang City." Wang Xuesong responded and went to the table to get it. "Master." Wang Shuahai took it in his hand and walked slowly to Jiang Xiu. He said, "Mr. Jiang, Wanzhiguang City is returned to you in good condition." His expression was ugly, but he still squeezed out a smile. "I've heard a lot about Mr. Jiang, but I couldn't wait any longer, so I played a little joke on Mr. Jiang. I didn't expect it to cause such a big mess." Jiang Xiu said, "Are you kidding?" Wang Shuahai said, "Of course." On the surface, he appeared calm and collected, but in his heart, he was burning with rage. He had slaughtered more than 30 members of the Wang family, including one of their elders. This was a blood feud, and Wang Shuahai wanted nothing more than to cut him into pieces. However, his mother's words just now pointed at Wang Shuahai. He didn't know how strong Zhang Luoxia was, but the Wang family shouldn't be rash. He had to be patient and make concessions to make peace with Jiang Xiu. However, Wang Shuahai didn't agree with his mother's conservatism. Let's not talk about whether Zhang Luoxia was a demigod or not. Even if he was a demigod, so what? Was there no demigod in the Wang family? Moreover, Zhang Luoxia was so young. Even if he was a demigod, he was a new one. How could he compare with the ancestor of the Wang family who had cultivated for hundreds of years? Unexpectedly, Jiang Xiu didn't reach out to take over the property rights of Wanzhiguang City. He said jokingly, "I killed more than 30 members of your Wang family." Is that a joke? Spiritual cultivation was a slap in the face. Wang Shuahai's expression suddenly froze. It was extremely ugly. The elders of the Wang family on the side were filled with righteous indignation. They couldn't wait to fight with Zhang Xiu. Wang Shuahai gritted his teeth and said, "Of course. Since everything started because of a joke, no wonder Mr. Zhang." He secretly swore that as long as he figured out Zhang Luoxia's strength, he would definitely make him regret being born into this world. Unexpectedly, Zhang Xiu's expression turned cold. "Mr. Wang, you took it as a joke. However, I never joke with people, especially those who try to control me. I will definitely make them regret it for the rest of their lives." Wang Shuahai's expression completely changed. "What do you mean?" Zhang Xiu said, "Do you think I'm so easy to get rid of? Do you think I'll let this matter go with a joke? What do you want?" Zhang Xiu said, "Didn't that person report to you just now? I want 80% of your Wang family's assets." 80%? The muscles on Wang Shuahai's face fiercely twitched. At this moment, his patience had already reached its limit. "Mr. Zhang, do you really think that my Wang family is easy to bully?" Zhang Xiu said, "Then Mr. Wang, do you think I'm easy to bully? And if my Wang family doesn't give it to you?" A cold light flashed in Zhang Xiu's eyes. He suddenly swung his right hand, and a sharp aura surged out. With a bang, a member of the Wang family who was standing not too far away didn't even have time to scream before he shockingly discovered that his upper body was separated from his lower body at the waist. He had been cut in half by Zhang Xiu's aura. "If you don't give it to me, I'll just stand here. I'll kill whoever comes." "You." The elders present didn't see how the Wang family members died outside. Now that they saw it with their own eyes, they were truly heartbroken and furious. When had the Wang family, which had stood tall in Jiangnan for 200 years, ever suffered such humiliation and slaughter? They all wanted to rush up to Zhang Xiu and kill him. "Ha ha ha." The laughter of an old man suddenly rang out. "Mr. Zhang, you're a demigod. Why do you have to make things difficult for the younger generation?" The one who spoke was the white-haired old lady. She took a step, and strangely crossed 4 or 5 meters. However, she was still as relaxed as ever. The 50-meter distance between her feet was just a snap of her fingers. "Old lady." The Wang family members were filled with grief and anger. Even when the Wang family was first established, they had never encountered such a tragedy. Everyone hoped that the old lady would give the order to kill this bastard. "When your Wang family sent me to pay respects to you, you didn't consider yourself a junior," Zhang Xiu said calmly. The old lady said in a low voice, "My Wang family offended Mr. Zhang first. However, the Wang family has suffered so many casualties. Isn't that enough to appease your anger?" Judging from Zhang Xiu's attack just now, the old lady was almost certain that Zhang Luoxia was a demigod without a doubt. His strength was definitely beyond the limits of mortals. Zhang Xiu said, "I've said that anyone who offends me will regret it for the rest of their lives." The old lady sucked in a breath of cold air. Only when she faced Zhang Xiu directly did she realize how determined he was to kill. She nodded and said, "The Wang family agrees to Mr. Zhang's conditions." "Old lady! Old lady!" Everyone in the Wang family, from Wang Shuahai to the elders, cried out involuntarily. Zhang Xiu had killed so many people in the Wang family. It could be said that the hatred was as deep as the sea. How could they compromise with him? The old lady waved her hand and said, "I've already made up my mind. It's the Wang family's honor that Mr. Zhang is interested in the Wang family's business." Zhang Xiu was very surprised. "But Mr. Zhang, the business won't be finished in a short time. Give me some time. It won't take too long. It'll be delivered to you by dinner tonight." Zhang Xiu took a deep look at old Madame Wang, nodded and said, "Yes. But I came to Hangqing alone. Why don't I invite the head of the Wang family to accompany me?" Zhang Xiu was still a young divine cultivator with only 5 godly tattoos. The Wang family was rumored to have a demigod suppressing the family. He didn't know what level the so-called demigod had reached, so it was better to be careful. Shuahai, Mr. Jiang invites you to accompany him. Then you should accompany him. Although Wang Shuahai wasn't angry and wanted to drink Jiang Xiu's blood and eat Jiang Xiu's flesh, his mother's words were an imperial edict. He didn't dare to disobey. He immediately said, "Of course. I wonder where Mr. Jiang is going." Just then, Jiang Xiu's phone rang. He looked at the caller ID and saw that it was Tang Zhenshan. He picked it up. "Old man. Mr. Jiang, I heard that you went to Hangqing. Are you going to visit the Wang family?" Tang Zhenshan was extremely nervous at this moment. Cold sweat dripped down his forehead. Not long ago, Boss Zhong came to find him and told him about the situation. He said that Jiang Xiu was in Jiang City and seemed to be heading to the Wang family. Tang Zhenshan also realized that something big was going to happen. The Wang family wasn't something a small place like Jiangqing could compare to. He immediately wanted to call to stop it. "Yes." Hearing Jiang Xiu's words, Tang Zhenshan almost fainted. It wasn't easy for the Tang family to rely on this mountain. He wanted to find someone for his descendants to rely on after he died, so he placed all his hopes on Jiang Xiu. He didn't expect. "You can't do that. The Wang family is not a small family. Mr. Jiang, please listen to me. Don't be rash." Jiang Xiu glanced at the messy Wang family hall. It seemed that his words came too late. "I had a good chat with Mr. Wang. Chapter 85. Have a good chat. That was unbelievable. The Wang family stole the Wanji Guangqing project and made Mr. Jiang lose face. Even if the Wang family returned the project to him, Mr. Jiang's reputation would be tarnished. How could he be happy? No matter what, it had nothing to do with having a good chat. Tang Zhenshan thought that Jiang Xiu must have admitted defeat after going to the Wang family. However, Jiang Xiu was the leader of Jiangqing City and wanted to save face. "That's good. Mr. Jiang, I'll be at Boss Zhong's resort hotel soon. Do you need me to pick you up?" Jiang Xiu said, "No need. The Wang family will accompany me." After hanging up the phone, Jiang Xiu said, "Looking at the long tide in the river pond, the waves hit the sky, it's truly a spectacular sight. Mr. Wang, why don't you accompany me to look at the tide?" Wang Shuahai said, "I'd be happy to." "Please." The Wang family's inner courtyard was filled with members of the Wang family. However, there were many people outside the Wang family's door who came to ask for help from the Wang family. If Jiang Xiu swaggered out like that, the Wang family would lose face. The old lady said, "I'm still some distance away from Guanzhong Tang. I have a helicopter at home. Would Mr. Jiang be interested in taking a helicopter?" Jiang Xiu said, as the host. With Wang Shuahai in his hands, he wasn't worried that the Wang family would play any tricks on him. The Wang family was indeed a family with 200 years of history. The garden was even equipped with a helicopter shed. The old lady personally sent them off. "The property will be delivered by dinner time. Mr. Jiang, you can enjoy the tide in peace. Take care." Wang Xintong was hiding outside. Her beautiful eyes were filled with shock as she watched Jiang Xiu and the head of the family board the helicopter. She was the one who brought Jiang Xiu here. She felt that she had harmed the Wang family and her dead brothers and sisters. He had killed so many people in the Wang family. Even if he died 10,000 times, it would not be enough for him. However, the old lady actually came out to see him off. What the hell is going on? Seeing the helicopter fly away, the elders of the Wang family became anxious. "Old madam, why does our Wang family have to be so polite to him? Even if he's a demigod, our Wang family isn't afraid of him." The old lady's eyes revealed a fierce look as she said in a low voice, "Ignorant. How many demigods are there in China?" The furious elders of the Wang family slowly calmed down upon hearing this. There are a total of 13 people on the demigod ranking in Hua Nation. Only 13. Do you know what that means? It means that this young man has the ability to be on the same level as these people. He has the ability to stand at the top of the pyramid in China. The Wang family finally realized what kind of person Zhang Luoxia was. Yes, our Wang family doesn't have to be afraid of him. However, do you want our ancestor, who is protecting us, to fight him to the death? A demigod guarded a family. If a demigod was defeated, the family would be destroyed. Zhang Xiu was not afraid of anything. Should the Wang family put their lives on the line? Still, someone said unwillingly, but do we really have to give him 80% of the family assets? Was there anything more humiliating than being killed and having their wealth stolen? Xuesong, the older you get, the more backward you become. The Wang family has so many assets that even our Wang family doesn't know how much we have, let alone Zhang Luoxia. Just give him a portion of the assets. Everyone looked at each other and understood what she meant. If the Wang family's assets were 100 billion and they claimed to have 10 billion, giving Zhang Xiu 8 billion would not affect the Wang family much. The only thing that would be embarrassing was their reputation. The old lady saw it clearly. No family could be prosperous forever. Things developed in a spiral. There would be highs and lows. Their goal was to be everlasting. Go and get ready. Make the assets look better. It would take about an hour to drive from the villa area to the Wang family. However, they would arrive in 5 to 6 minutes by helicopter. The resort was not high-end enough to have a helipad, but it was not difficult to find an open space for the helicopter to land. The helicopter flew over everyone's heads and headed to the tallest building. After some communication, it was allowed to land on the rooftop balcony of the building. Tang Jinshan, Boss Zhong, and the others were already waiting there. What a joke! Mr. Wang, the number one in Jiangnan province, and Mr. Jiang, the number one in Zhongqing, were here. They did not dare to neglect these two gentlemen. Mr. Wang, Tang Jinshan and Boss Zhong were very respectful. Tang Jinshan had seen Wang Shuahai before, but Boss Zhong had never seen him before. At this time, he was very frightened. Wang Shuahai's face was cold and he did not answer. His mood now was imaginable. He was not in the mood to deal with insignificant people like Tang Jinshan and Boss Zhong. Mr. Jiang, the best tide viewing villa is ready, Zhang Xiu asked. Where is it? Boss Zhong said, of course it's the tide viewing pavilion. This villa was specially designed for tide viewing. It was the best villa in the resort. Zhang Xiu nodded slightly and said, you guys take Mr. Wang there first. I need to go back and get something. His belongings were still in that single room. Naturally, he had to go back and get them. It was just a small backpack with some clothes in it. Just as he was about to leave, there was a knock on the door. When he opened it, he saw Cheng Lingsu standing alone outside. She was about to speak when she saw Zhang Xiu holding something. She asked in surprise, where are you going? Zhang Xiu said, I changed my room. Cheng Lingsu said in surprise, you changed your room too? Originally, Cheng Lingsu and the others were arranged to stay in the villa area, especially Yi Wanchen, who was arranged to stay in the most famous tide viewing pavilion. However, Brother Zhong changed their seats just now, saying that a big shot was coming. They really had no choice. Although they were also given a villa, the difference in their hearts still made them feel very uncomfortable. They changed from high to low, but could Zhang Xiu's room be worse? If it was worse, he would have to stay in the toilet. She asked in confusion, where did you change to? Zhang Xiu said, I changed to a villa. Villa. Cheng Lingsu couldn't help but open her beautiful eyes. However, in the next moment, Cheng Lingsu's beautiful face was covered with a layer of cold air. Did Uncle Jiang and Auntie Jiang give you money? Why is your vanity so strong? We are staying in a villa. Do you want to stay in a villa too? Zhang Xiu said, you guys can stay in a villa, but I can't. Cheng Lingsu frowned and said, don't you know your family's situation? You did get good results when you graduated from high school, so Uncle Jiang and Auntie Jiang should reward you. However, you used this money to stay in a villa just to compete with us? It wasn't easy for me to change my view of you, but you disappoint me too much. How did Uncle Jiang and Auntie Jiang raise a son like you? Next, when you go to university, Uncle Jiang and Auntie Jiang have to insist. You are going to squander their hard-earned money like this? Jiang Xiu frowned and said, You came here just to tell me this. Chang Lingsu said, I can't be bothered to talk to you. I came here to tell you about us changing rooms, so that when the time comes, you won't knock on our original door like an idiot. Since that villa was given to an important person, it wouldn't be appropriate for Jiang Xiu to knock on the door. She specially ran over to inform him. That's it. After saying that, she turned around and left. Suddenly, she stopped and said, This room is free, and it's not worse than your home or school. Don't waste that money. As a person, you have to know your limits. After saying that, she walked away with her long legs. Cheng Lingsu didn't know when she started to have a deeper prejudice against Jiang Xiu. It seemed that Jiang Xiu didn't do anything excessive, other than tricking her to wash his clothes once. But in the end, he also fulfilled his promise and signed the agreement to dissolve the marriage contract. But when she saw him, she always felt annoyed and couldn't calm down. He was clearly a poor boy, but he acted high and mighty, looking down on everything. It was as if there was nothing in this world that could catch his eye. It was very annoying. She thought that if she could make Jiang Xiu lower his head to her, maybe then Chang Lingsu would feel that she could treat him better. Su, what's wrong? Seeing Chang Lingsu come back with a face full of anger, Ouyang Qian asked. Nothing. At this moment, all of them had ugly expressions on their faces, especially when Yi Wanchen was having lunch. The Zhong family treated him extremely courteously and gave him a lot of face. However, in just a short while, they actually chased him out of the villa that he had already stayed in. It was really embarrassing. At this time, his face was cold and he didn't say a word. He could lose face, but he definitely wouldn't allow himself to lose face in front of Chang Lingsu. Mother Fastris Ke, what kind of important person is so awesome that he can force us out? Lin Shu cursed fiercely. Chapter 86. The people present were also very angry. If they had stayed in an ordinary room, it would have been fine. But if they had stayed in Tide Viewing Pavilion and then been kicked out, they would have lost a lot of face. They pushed their suitcases to another area. When they were about to check in, the receptionist at the reception desk received a call. After nodding repeatedly, she hung up the phone and said with the most apologetic smile, I'm sorry, dear guests. There are also guests staying in Villa number 3. Please move to Villa number 4. What? It was not enough to be kicked out once. They had to be kicked out a second time. The group of people's faces became very ugly. Don't you know who I am? Yi Wanchen could not bear it anymore. He angrily asked the receptionist, Don't you know that I'm Brother Zhong's guest? Brother Zhong asked us to come here. Seeing him angry, the receptionist said with grievance, Brother Zhong called and said that someone was coming in Villa number 3. He asked you to go to Villa number 4. It was like eating a melon seed and eating an ugly bug. It was disgusting. Yi Wanchen's face turned red. He wanted to find a hole to hide in and then never come out. It was too embarrassing. Some people present were also very embarrassed. Young Master Yi, let's go to Villa number 4. Guests should follow the host's wishes, right? Lin Shu said to give his brother a way out. Yes, let's go. Since they were already here, they could not leave in anger. Not to mention that this would make things awkward. Even if they went out, they would not have a good place to go for a while. Okay, then let's go to Villa number 4 first. Chang Lingsu said, Wait, Dandan went to the bathroom. Let's wait for her. Before she finished speaking, Li Dan ran over and said, I just saw Jiang Xiu go to Tide Viewing Pavilion. Is he going to look for us? Yi Wanchen frowned. If Jiang Xiu went to Tide Viewing Pavilion to look for them, it would be another embarrassing thing. Didn't you tell him that we changed rooms? Chang Lingsu said in surprise. I told him. There's no reason for him not to know. Yi Wanchen scolded. This idiot. Don't worry about him. It's inconvenient to carry luggage. Let's go check in first. The river tide will come soon. It will be spectacular then. As they walked out, a group of people entered Villa District 3. So it's him. No wonder. Lin Shu asked. Who is it? Qing Shui Wan Zwilin. Yi Wanchen called out. Uncle Wan. Wan Zwilin stopped and looked at the refined young man in front of him. For a moment, he couldn't remember who he was, but he looked a little familiar. He should know him. You are? Yi Wanchen said. Yi Wanchen, Deputy Mayor Ye's son. Ah. Wan Zwilin suddenly remembered and said very politely, so it's Deputy City Mayor Ye's son. It's been a long time. Why, young Master Yi also came here to watch the tide. The students around Yi Wanchen were excited again. Young Master Yi was indeed young Master Yi. He was so awesome that he even knew Wan Zwilin and was so polite. Who is it? Uncle Wan also came to watch the tide? Today, Mr. Jiang came to visit the Wang family. It was such a big event that several people in Zhongqing would definitely come. This was not only to give face to Mr. Jiang, but also to give face to the Wang family. Wan Zwilin said, I'm not as elegant as young Master Yi. There's a big event here today, so I hurried over. Big event? Wan Zwilin said seriously, today, the tide in Zhongqing is rising. Mr. Jiang wants to visit Mr. Wang here. Wow! The surrounding students were in an uproar. They couldn't help but widen their eyes. Mr. Jiang was no stranger, and Mr. Wang was even more so. He was a big family that had stood tall in Zhongnan for more than 200 years. This is really a big event. Yi Wanchen's eyes showed a look of infatuation. Although he couldn't see such a big figure, he yearned to see it. The students around also became interested. Can we go and take a look? Wan Zwilin pondered. It's not very convenient to see such a big event, but it shouldn't be a big problem if we just watch from afar. That's great. Thinking that they could not only see Mr. Jiang, but also Zhongnan's Mr. Wang, everyone present was very happy. Cheng Lingsu's little face also flushed with excitement. Then let's go and check in first. This group of little fellows was overjoyed to have the opportunity to watch the Reverend peer. The displeasure they felt just now quickly dissipated. After checking in, let's go to the tide viewing platform. Okay, thank you, Uncle Wan. Such a grand event could only be encountered by chance. According to Wan Zwilin, there would be a lot of people from Zhongqing coming to support Mr. Jiang. They should try to get there as early as possible to get a good seat. Cheng Lingsu said, help me check in. I have something to do. What's the matter? Ouyang Qian said, don't tell me you're going to the tide viewing pavilion to find that idiot Zhang Xiu. It's none of our business if he embarrasses himself. Cheng Lingsu said, after all, I asked him to come. Well, we'll go with you. The boys go check in. Cheng Lingsu originally wanted to refuse, but since her best friend said so, she couldn't refuse. She had to let Ouyang Qian and Li Dan go to the tide viewing pavilion together. Ouyang Qian was still angry. She was kicked out before she could really live in a good place here. Isn't that Zhang Xiu? She saw a waiter accompanying Zhang Xiu to the entrance of the villa. Zhang. She was about to say something when the waiter opened the door of the villa. After giving the key to Zhang Xiu, he said politely, Sir, this is the tide viewing pavilion. If you need anything, we'll be on standby 24 hours a day. Zhang Xiu said, okay, thank you. The waiter bowed slightly and left. What's going on? Why did Zhang Xiu go in? Seeing the waiter come over, Cheng Lingsu asked, Little brother, why did you let that person enter the tide viewing pavilion? The waiter smiled politely and said, That's a guest of the tide viewing pavilion. What? Cheng Lingsu and the other girls cried out in unison. Their eyes were full of disbelief. Little brother, you're mistaken. The waiter said, No. After saying that, he left. This guest was personally instructed by the big boss. He couldn't be careless. Naturally, he didn't dare to say anything. Is there a mistake? He kicked us out and then let him stay. Is there something wrong with Brother Zhong's head? Does he think that Zhang Xiu is more important than young Master Yi? Ouyang Qian was so angry that her chest violently heaved. Preposterous. Cheng Lingsu was also at a loss. Her delicate face was not locked tightly. She felt very strange in her heart. During lunch today, it was very strange. Zhong Lican's attitude towards Zhang Xiu was very thought-provoking. Now, Zhang Xiu was living in the tide viewing pavilion. Let's go and ask. Cheng Lingsu felt that she had to figure out what this Zhang Xiu was doing. She took large strides and walked to the front of the villa. Her pace was so fast that Ouyang Qian and Li Dan couldn't keep up. She pressed the doorbell repeatedly. Zhang Xiu opened the door and saw her. His eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. He didn't know why she was here. You changed villas and moved here? Cheng Lingsu asked in a questioning tone. Zhang Xiu said, yes. How do you explain this? Cheng Lingsu's pair of beautiful eyes stared at Zhang Xiu's face. It was as if Zhang Xiu had made a huge mistake. Your family is just an ordinary family. Your uncle and auntie are just running a fruit stall. Why would other people let you live in such a high-end villa? That's right. Ouyang Qian and Li Dan also rushed over. Did you use some kind of scheme in front of Brother Zhong? Otherwise, this tide viewing pavilion is clearly ours. Why would they let you have it? Hurry up and say it. Zhang Xiu's gaze landed on Cheng Lingsu's beautiful face. They are really too similar. Seeing this face, Zhang Xiu often recalled Cheng Lingren's every frown and every smile. However, he was clear that a younger sister was a younger sister and an older sister was an older sister. He said jokingly, why should I explain it to you? Who are you to me? Cheng Lingsu's expression was cold. She was so angry that her teeth chattered. You're playing dumb with me? Don't you know our relationship? As long as we don't cancel the engagement, I won't have a day of freedom. Are you going to say it or not? Zhang Xiu said, all right, I will satisfy you. Listen well. I am Zhang Luoxia of Zhang City, the Mr. Zhang that you all speak of. By Leng, I slapped Zhongnan's 4 great young masters. Tiandao Temple, I retreated from Lin Jinan, defeated Fu Bo, and killed Lin Zhenbei. Wang family's courtyard, I slaughtered more than 30 people. I suppressed the heroes until they lowered their heads. His words were powerful and his aura became stronger and stronger. It was as if a god of war was soaring into the sky. Chapter 87. As Zhang Xiu spoke, Ouyang Qian and Li Dan were stunned at first, then they burst out laughing. Cheng Lingsu's face turned green. If those beautiful eyes could shoot out knives, they would definitely cut Zhang Xiu into pieces. Enough. Cheng Lingsu couldn't bear it anymore. She glared at Zhang Xiu and said, I know you have low self-esteem and want to catch up with us. But making up such a lie and bragging will only make us feel ridiculous. Is it because of the Tang family? Cheng Lingsu said, don't be stupid, Zhang Xiu. The Tang family is not that simple. The more they invest in you, the more dangerous the things you have to do. There is no free lunch in the world. Looking at the angry Cheng Lingsu, Zhang Xiu shook his head and said, I have already said it. If you don't believe me, there is nothing I can do. Please leave. After saying that, he didn't wait for Cheng Lingsu to respond and closed the door. You dare to slam my door? Bastard! Cheng Lingsu kicked the iron door fiercely. She advised him with good intentions, but he didn't listen. In the past, Zhang Xiu listened to everything she said. When she said something to him, he would treat it as a gift. But now, he treated her like this. Su, this is really funny. This Zhang Xiu really knows how to brag. He actually said that he is Mr. Zhang. I am Mr. Ouyang. I am Mr. Li. In the afternoon, when the tide was high, Yi Wanqin, Cheng Lingsu and the others came to the tide viewing platform. When they arrived, they realized that the docking ceremony was even grander than they imagined. The real rulers of Zhang City were all here. Not only that, Some of the local tyrants of Hang City were also here. Many famous big shots were gathered together. In the name of watching the magnificent waves of the river, they were here to pay respects to the first dock in Jongnan. What an amazing display! The most amazing thing was that these big shots were now like small fries. They didn't even have the qualifications to sit. Yi Wenchen even looked at Zhong Likan. Even a big shot like Zhong Likan could only stand. Is this the influence of the Zhongnan Wang family and Mr. Jiang? Which one is Mr. Wang? Which one is Mr. Jiang? Someone pointed at Chen Shuahai, who was standing alone in the distance. The waves in front of him were about 5 to 6 meters high. Standing alone in front of such heavenly might, he naturally had the demeanor of a man with lofty aspirations. However, no one knew what Wang Shuahai was feeling at this moment. That is Mr. Wang. Ouyang Chen murmured softly. She only felt that Mr. Wang was majestic. She had heard from her family that the Wang family was a famous family in Zhongnan. It had been passed down for 200 years. Their words were more powerful than the provincial books in Zhongnan. If the Ouyang family could make friends with the Wang family, they would definitely soar into the sky. She vaguely remembered the yearning and admiration in her father's eyes. Today, this big shot was just a little bit away from him. So majestic. Li Dan couldn't help but say. At this moment, all the girls were infatuated. Even Cheng Lingsu was no exception. Her face was slightly red. Many people paid attention to the rich list on Forbes. However, Chang Hanlin said that the real rich people were the big families. He thought that the real rich person in Zhongnan should be the head of the Wang family, Wang Shuahai. This is how a man should be. Yi Wenchen exclaimed. He finally saw the real power of a big shot. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The river waves kept hitting the rocks and rising into the sky. There was the smell of the river in the air. The main character was here, but Mr. Jiang, who came to visit the dock, was still nowhere to be seen. What's going on? Why isn't Mr. Jiang here yet? According to common sense, Mr. Jiang came to visit the dock as a subordinate. It was impolite to make Mr. Wang wait. It was even provocative. The few Qin family members present began to worry. Tang Zhenshan said, "Why isn't he here yet? What if he angers Mr. Wang? What should we do?" Yeah. Boss Zhong also frowned. Today, this visit to the dock was placed in the tide-watching area and was received by Mr. Wang in person. He was much more powerful than Lin Zhenbei back then. This made everyone in Zhongnan City feel that it was important. Zhongnan City had produced a big shot. Mr. Wang thinks too highly of him. If Mr. Jiang doesn't show up for a long time, I'm afraid this good thing will turn into a bad thing. It could be imagined that if Mr. Wang got angry and left with a flick of his sleeves, the consequences would be unpredictable. Perhaps Mr. Jiang, who had just emerged, would disappear without a trace like fireworks. No one knew when Mr. Wang's patience would run out. Maybe it would be the next moment. Suddenly, the atmosphere became very tense. It was so quiet that you could hear a pin drop. Only the sound of the waves could be heard. At this moment, a voice was heard. The Wang family's old Madam Wang has arrived. Wow! There was an uproar. In Zhongnan, everyone knew Mr. Wang, but they also knew that the Wang family had an iron lady who meant what she said. She was Mr. Wang's old mother, old Madam Wang. A group of people clustered around the white-haired but energetic old Madam Wang. Old Madam Wang! Old Madam Wang! Regardless of whether they knew her or not, they had to greet her when they saw her. Old Madam Wang also had a smile on her face. She had the kindness of an elder, but she didn't lose her dignity. Mr. Jiang is too presumptuous. Even old Madam Wang is here. Why isn't he showing up? That's right. This Jiang guy doesn't know his place. On the other hand, Yi Wenchen and the others were very excited. We've really hit the jackpot today. Not only did we see Mr. Wang, but we're also lucky enough to see old Madam Wang. Tang Zhenshan had never seen old Madam Wang before. Even he wasn't qualified to see her. Seeing old Madame Wang show up but not Zhang Xiu, he was so scared that his legs started to tremble. However, at this moment, Tang Wenchong walked out with a phone call and said to old Madame Wang, "Mr. Zhang asked if you brought everything." "How dare you?" Wei Dachong of Ningde was furious. He was one of the richest people in Ningde and also someone who depended on the Wang family. Back then, he had spent a lot of effort to get into the Wang family. How could he allow others to disrespect him? Who does Zhang Luoxia think he is? How dare he question old Madame Wang? "It's okay." Old Madame Wang waved her hand and said, "Mr. Zhang deserves it, deserves it. Don't even mention asking me a question. I'm even willing to do things for him." Wow. Everyone was in an uproar. Old Madame Wang held Zhang Luoxia in such high esteem and even spoke with such respect? What was going on? Was Zhang Luoxia powerful or something? "Young man, please tell Mr. Zhang that I've brought everything." As soon as she finished speaking, the sound of an airplane roaring could be heard from the villa behind them. It was a helicopter, slowly approaching. Tang Wenchong raised his voice and said, "Mr. Zhang said, is the number correct?" Old Madame Wang's expression changed slightly. "Of course." Mr. Zhang said, "If the number is correct, please take the things onto the helicopter." This time, old Madame Wang hesitated, but it was only for a moment. "Shuahai." Only then did Wang Shuahai turn around. He frowned and suppressed his anger. Looking at the file bag handed to him, he felt as if his heart was being cut by a knife. 80% of the Wang family's assets were inside. How could they just give it away? "Talk to Mr. Zhang nicely." Wang Shuahai gritted his teeth and took the file bag. Wang Shuahai, who was at the peak of transforming strength, easily climbed up the stairs from the helicopter. Tang Wenchong said, "Mr. Zhang asked, how much is inside?" Even though old Madame Wang had been on the battlefield for a long time, her face was a little pale at this moment. Fine sweat appeared on her forehead. She said, "According to the agreement, 80% of the Wang family's assets is half. My Wang family's total assets are about 10 billion. This is 8 billion. My Wang family only keeps the Wang family's garden." Everyone realized that something was wrong. This was not Zhang Luoxia worshipping the Wang family, but more like the Wang family worshipping Zhang Luoxia. What's going on? Tang Jinshan and the others were also confused. Ah! A scream of horror came from the helicopter in mid-air. With a bang, the iron door of the cabin fell from the sky. Wang Shuahai's body was half suspended outside the cabin. Whoosh! Everyone cried out in alarm. Old Madame Wang's legs went weak and she almost fell to the ground in fear. She shouted at the helicopter in mid-air, Mr. Zhang, let's talk things over. Don't kill my son." Half a figure poked out of the airport. His voice was as cold as ice in winter. "I gave the Wang family a chance. You didn't know how to cherish it. Then don't blame me for being ruthless." Old Madame Wang was so scared that she screamed, "No." Her knees went weak and she fell to her knees. "I was ignorant. I'll send someone to do it immediately. I won't dare to give you a cent less. It's too late." Zhang Xiu's voice was cold and emotionless. Old Madame Wang was shocked and angry. He didn't give her any room to bargain. She roared, "Zhang Luoxia, do you really want to offend the Wang family? If you dare touch a hair on my son, the Wang family will never let you go." "Is that so?" With a sudden push of his hand, Wang Shuahai was pushed down from the sky. Ah! At this time, the helicopter had reached an astonishing height of 20 or 30 stories. Falling down, bang! Even a martial artist at the peak of transforming strength was smashed into a pile of mud. Chapter 88. No one dared to save him. At this time, the helicopter was about 20 to 30 stories high, which was 50 to 60 meters high. If they reached out to save him, they would be crushed into meat paste together with him. Moreover, they were quite far away and no one could make it in time. Wang Shuahai screamed in horror as he fell. Old Madame Wang was so scared that she screamed crazily, "No!" Everyone on the scene was dumbstruck by the sight. Oh my God! Looking at the person falling from the sky, they couldn't believe it was real. The person who was pushed off the helicopter by Jiang Luoxia was the head of the Wang family in Jiangnan, Wang Shuahai, Mr. Wang. He was the #1 person who had stood at the peak of Jiangnan for decades. Tang Jinshan, Boss Zhong, Wen Zuolin, and the other tycoons of Jiangnan City stared with their eyes wide open. At this moment, their minds were completely blank. The visual impact was too strong. With a bang, Wang Shuahai fell to the ground. Like a watermelon falling from a high altitude, he smashed into a pile of meat paste. My son. The scene was eerily silent. At this moment, it was as if everything had stopped. Only the propellers in the sky were spinning. The devil-like man stood at the entrance of the airport. His hair was blown by the wind, and his eyes were as dark as the abyss. Jiang Luoxia, you dare to kill my son? Old Madame Wang was trembling all over. She roared at Zhang Xiu in the helicopter angrily. Zhang Xiu said, "I've already killed him. What's there to be afraid of? So what if I killed him? I'm looking forward to the Wang family not letting me go." As he spoke, he signaled for the helicopter to land. The helicopter landed in the open space outside the crowd. Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang. The crowd parted like a tide. The scene just now was pressing on their hearts. Their breaths were heavy, and fear swept through their bodies. They couldn't help but call out his name softly. In the crowd, Ouyang Qian and Li Dan had never seen such a scene. Their pretty faces were pale, and their hearts couldn't take it anymore. They were afraid and curious about Mr. Zhang. They widened their eyes and saw Zhang Xiu walking over. What is he doing? Is he crazy? He's called Mr. Zhang. Does he think he's calling him just because his surname is Zhang? Yi Wanchen, Lin Shu, and the others were also dumbfounded. What is that idiot doing? Didn't he know what kind of occasion this was? Even Mr. Wang had been killed. Jiangnan was going to be turned upside down. Did they not want to live anymore? Zhang Xiu. Cheng Lingsu's beautiful eyes widened. She really wanted to stop Zhang Xiu, but she didn't dare. She didn't dare to make a sound in front of someone like Mr. Zhang. He was very conflicted. You just bragged that you're Mr. Zhang, and now you're trying to attract my attention? He was really crazy. She knew that Zhang Xiu liked her very much since they were young, but she didn't expect him to love her so deeply. Zhang Xiu walked forward unhurriedly. Mr. Zhang. Mr. Zhang. At this time, everyone was waiting for Mr. Zhang to arrive. The crowd kept moving aside. Lin Shu said, "Young Master Yi, is this guy crazy? Is he looking for death? How dare he act recklessly in this kind of occasion?" Yi Wanchen said, "He deserves to die." He had long wanted Zhang Xiu to die. Mr. Zhang. When Zuolin saw Zhang Xiu and called out respectfully. Yi Wanchen and the others were stunned. Mr. Zhang. Zhong Likan also called out respectfully. The rich people of Zhongqing along the way all called out. Yi Wanchen was stunned. He was completely stunned and didn't know what to do. He looked at Tang Jinshan with a glimmer of hope. He also called out respectfully, "Mr. Zhang." Under countless respectful gazes, Zhang Xiu finally passed through the crowd and arrived at the center of the venue. Cheng Lingsu was stunned. At this moment, it was as if a bomb had exploded in her head. Her mind went blank, and she turned a deaf ear to the respectful greetings of Mr. Zhang. She only watched as the young man walked through the crowd of Jiangnan's rich people like a demon god. Zhang Xiu is Mr. Zhang? When she was standing on the plane just now, she felt that he looked a little familiar. He kept calling me Mr. Zhang. Zhang Xiu was usually so arrogant that he didn't care about anything. He kept calling me Mr. Zhang, as if he was the king of the world. Who else could it be but him? God, you must be playing with me, Cheng Lingsu. This was the biggest joke in life. Zhang Xiu is Mr. Zhang. Yi Wanchen, Lin Shu, Ouyang Qian, Li Dan, and the others were completely stunned. They didn't even realize that they were bumped into. Their hearts were cold and their legs were weak. How can Jiang Xiu be Mr. Jiang? How could the man who set up the fruit stall be Mr. Jiang, the most powerful man in Jiangnan who dared to kill the head of the Wang family, which had been passed down for 200 years? Shock, fear, and trembling. They thought of their daily sarcasm toward Jiang Xiu and the scene where Jiang Xiu pushed Wang Shuahai, the head of the Wang family, the most powerful family in Jiangnan, off the plane. His face was completely pale, and his legs were trembling uncontrollably. They weren't the only ones who were shocked. They were shocked by Jiang Xiu's identity. Everyone present was shocked by Mr. Jiang's killing of Wang Shuahai. This was really a big deal. It was too shocking. At this moment, everyone was at a loss. Tang Zhenshan was having a hard time even standing. Tang Wanzong was supporting him. Tang Wanzong was also shocked. He didn't expect Jiang Xiu to kill Wang Shuahai. Wang Shuahai was the head of the Wang family in Jiangnan. Jiang Xiu glanced at them indifferently. I've said that I'll make those who offend me regret it forever. Hiss. Everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air when they heard this. Everyone finally understood. Jiang Xiu wasn't bowing to the Wang family. He was clearly taking revenge on the Wang family. Previously, there was news that the Wang family had embezzled the Wanji Guangcheng project in order to force Mr. Jiang. The Wang family's move was considered overbearing. That was a huge project worth more than 2 billion yuan. Well, they had kicked a steel plate this time. They didn't expect Jiang Xiu to be even more ruthless than the Wang family. He demanded 8 billion yuan, which was 4 times the original amount, and still didn't give up. He even killed the head of the Wang family. This method was truly incomparably vicious. Mr. Jiang said that those who offended him would regret it forever. Indeed, the Wang family could accept any amount of money. However, the death of the head of the family, Wang Shuahai, and the pain of losing a son was not something that old Madame Wang could bear. The death of the head of the family was also not something that the Wang family could bear. It was not an exaggeration to say that they would regret it forever. Old Madame Wang said, Jiang, the Wang family will fight you to the death from now on. Jiang Xiu laughed loudly. Good, very good. I've been waiting for you to say this. Not only was there no fear in his words, but he was also very happy. I've heard that the Wang family in Jiangnan has a demigod suppressing the family and ensuring the prosperity of the Wang family for 200 years. I'm looking forward to it. Although he owns 70% of the Wanji Guangcheng project, don't forget that this 70% belonged to Jiang Xiu. The Wang family taking over Wanji Guangcheng was equivalent to taking everything that belonged to Jiang Xiu. From the beginning, he didn't just want 70% or 80% of the Wang family. He wanted the Wang family to have nothing, including that demigod. Old Madame Wang said, All right, Jiang, do you see that tide? My ancestor is in the tide. You can go there. Otherwise, you won't even be able to see my ancestor. You, Jiang Luoxia, will commit suicide for the crime of blasphemy. Tang Zhenshan was so terrified because there was a demigod in the Wang clan. He had seen Jiang Xiu's strength, and he should have no problem dealing with those below the demigod realm. However, he did not think that Jiang Xiu could be a demigod. That was an extremely mysterious realm. They had only heard of it, but had never seen it. Hence, he did not think that Jiang Xiu could be a demigod. However, now that he heard Jiang Xiu's tone of wanting to challenge a demigod, could it be that he was also a demigod? What did old Madame Wang say? The demigod of the Wang family is in the tide of money? Are you kidding me? Everyone present felt like they were listening to a myth. How could a human exist in such a tide? Even the strongest expert in the water couldn't survive for more than half an hour, let alone in such a tide. Perhaps only a demigod who had transcended the mortal body could do that. It was said that demigods could control their own bodies at will. Jiang Xiu was slightly moved. Oh, he's in the tide? Interesting, interesting. Insolent. Old Madame Wang was so angry that she laughed. Jiang, Don't talk nonsense here. Although your cultivation has reached the realm of oneness of heaven and man, it doesn't mean that you have transcended to become a demigod. Today, you will die here for this old woman. Chapter 89. If he was a god cultivator at his peak, he could even stop the Doruo Sea with a single command, let alone the Qian River and Zhangchao. But now, he only had 5 divine marks. His godly power was insufficient. If he forcefully stopped the tide, he would only tire himself to death like a calf pulling a cart. Zhang Xiu ordered, "Prepare a few things for me: paper, candles, and a long sword." There were many people who wanted to work for Mr. Jiang, but there were even more who didn't dare to work for Mr. Jiang. Between Jiang Luoxia and the Wang family, one of them would definitely be defeated today. If they bet on the right thing, they would naturally skyrocket. However, if they bet on the wrong thing, they would also be consigned to eternal damnation. Those who were more conservative would just stand there and watch the show. "I'll go right now," Tang Wenchong replied and hurriedly went to prepare. His Tang family was already tied to Zhang Xiu. Just now, he had even sent a message to Zhang Xiu. Then, Wang Shuahai was killed. If Zhang Xiu lost, the Wang family's second target would probably be his Tang family. What is this for? Everyone present was very surprised. What was the use of having people prepare those things? Ridiculous. Some people were very disdainful. When Zhang Xiu pushed Wang Shuahai off the plane, forming an irreconcilable grudge with the Wang family, some people thought that Zhang Xiu was courting death. The Wang family had been passed down for 200 years. How could a small Zhang Luoxia from Zhongqing shake them? For so many years, how many people had wanted to overthrow the Wang clan? However, up until now, no one had succeeded. The price they paid was bloody. In the eyes of most people, Zhang Xiu wasn't the first, and he definitely wouldn't be the last. Humph. Zhang Luoxia, don't even think about stalling for time. You can't even go into the water. How can you be my ancestor's opponent? You should just cut your own throat and avoid a horrible death. Old Madame Wang wanted to kill Zhang Xiu immediately to avenge her son and the Wang family. Zhang Xiu stood proudly on the observation platform. In front of him was the tide of the Qian River. The waves were about 5 to 6 meters high, making his body seem incomparably small. However, within that small body, there seemed to be a tremendous amount of power that could conquer the heavens, as if it could conquer everything. "Mr. Jiang, I found it." Zhang Xiu reached out and took it. Everyone was curious and craned their necks. They wanted to see how Zhang Xiu would get into the water. He took the paper and began to fold it. His fingers were slender and powerful. Under his control, the paper was flipped and folded very deftly and skillfully. It felt like he was a mage. It was said that the sorcerer's hands were very skillful and could communicate with paper. What is he folding? Not long after, a paper boat appeared in his hand. Paper boat. Zhang Xiu lit the candles and placed them on the paper boat. River lanterns? In many places in the Hua Nation, there was a tradition of releasing river lanterns during the Hungry Ghost Festival to express one's thoughts of the deceased. He's going to release river lanterns? Is he going to release river lanterns on the tide of the Qian River? Could it be that he was going to cast a spell to ask the god of the Qian River to calm the tide? Other than that, they could not think of a second possibility. But how? This was a river, not a river. Who would release river lanterns by the river? Moreover, the tide was high and the waves were about 5 to 6 meters high. How could he release river lanterns? What a load of crap. Zhang Xiu held the river lantern in front of him. His mouth was facing the candle, and his mouth kept opening and closing. He kept saying something, and the candle's light became strange. It was as if the surrounding scenery had darkened, leaving only the dim, flickering candlelight. Why does it sound like he's making a wish? But in the next second, everyone's heart skipped a beat, because Zhang Xiu's voice was getting louder and louder. It went from being inaudible to faintly discernible. Later on, the sound waves swept over and they could not hear what Jiang Xiu was saying. It sounded like a very ancient language, vast and desolate, and finally, it became more and more urgent. The momentum instantly soared. Go! Jiang Xiu suddenly swung his hand that was holding the river lantern. The river lantern was flung out and fell toward the waves of the Qian River in front. If he threw it out like that, the river lantern would be swept away by the waves. However, a scene that left everyone dumbfounded happened. The river lantern fell on the top of the waves and was firmly controlled. Then, it sank with the waves. Strangely, it was not overturned by the waves. When the waves rose again, the river lantern also rose with the momentum and was not overturned. The broken boat was as if someone was rowing it, braving the wind and waves. What was even more strange was that the candle did not go out. Not only that, the candle flame did not sway at all. It was as if the wind had stopped blowing around it. Jiang Xiu suddenly shouted angrily and pointed his finger. His momentum was extremely shocking. The river lantern asks the water ghost. The river lantern drifted with the momentum and continued to move forward. It went all the way to the depths of the Qian River. This is incredible. Such a thing that went against the laws of nature made everyone who saw it stupefied and exclaim in admiration. Zhang Luo of Zhongqing was indeed worthy of his reputation. His skill was amazing. How is this possible? Yi Wanchen, Chang Lingsu, and the others were all stunned. Jiang Xiu actually had such a remarkable ability. Even old Madame Wang was extremely surprised. Even with her eyesight, she could not see what kind of magic Jiang Xiu was using. This was too shocking. Even so, what's the use? Clang! Jiang Xiu unsheathed his long sword. It was an ordinary long sword, but when Jiang Xiu pulled it out, it actually emitted a strong light. He raised his head and saw the surrounding storm and wolf howls sweeping towards him. He raised the long sword in his hand and chanted non-stop. The light on the sword burst out. The light was fluctuating and extended to more than 10 meters long. With a wave of the sleeve, the wind and clouds disappear. When the sword falls, the river will be broken. When the long sword slashed out, all space and time disappeared. It was as if there was only the sword light left in this world. It was a dazzling white sword light. The sword light slashed towards the Qian River fiercely and landed on the river water. In an instant, the river water was split into two from the middle. The vast storm swept towards both sides as if it carried the power of heaven and earth. It pushed the river water into the sky and turned into two torrents that poured towards both sides. How is this possible? Everyone's eyes almost popped out as they cried out involuntarily. This was the Qian River. When the tide hit, it could even break a bridge that was hundreds of meters long. However, it was split in half by Jiang Xiu's sword. The vast river water was actually split in half by Jiang Xiu. This completely subverted their imagination. It was simply unbelievable that he could shake the power of heaven and earth with his own strength. To do this, even if the current technology was piled up, even if the military transferred the latest weapons to bombard the river, it would still be impossible. What kind of ancient sword technique is this? Old Madame Wang's expression changed drastically. Ignorant, stupid. How could the ancient sword technique passed down by the ancestors on Earth be compared to the celestial sword technique? This was a celestial technique. Cheng Lingsu was dumbfounded. He actually had such ability. He was as strong as a god. However, they saw Jiang Xiu proudly walking towards the river tide. His feet stepped on the waves as if he was walking on flat ground. He walked forward in an orderly manner, and if there was a huge wave in front of him, he would slash it apart with his sword. What was even more shocking was that every time his sword landed, when the waves dispersed, they could see the river lanterns floating up and down with the waves. The river lanterns were leading the way for him. At this point, there was no longer any doubt in the crowd, let alone ridicule. They had been completely shocked. It was not until Jiang Xiu entered the depths of the Qian River and disappeared from everyone's sight that they heard rustling sounds. Didn't old Madame Wang mock Jiang Xiu for not even being able to go down the river? Mr. Zhang's strength was a slap in the face. Not only did he go down the river, but he did it in such a shocking way. Tang Zhenshan, Tang Wenchong, and the other members of the Tang family were wild with confidence. Mr. Zhang's divine power, Mr. Zhang's divine power. The future of the Tang family was completely tied to Zhang Xiu. They were bound together for good or ill. In fact, it was quite difficult for Zhang Xiu to do this with his current cultivation level. It seemed domineering, but it actually contained an indescribable and shocking technique of controlling divine power to the peak. Only a person like spiritual cultivation, who had reached the peak of his strength and lost it, could have such a deep control of the Tao of water. Before they knew it, the sky had darkened. In the depths of the Qian River, Zhang Xiu could no longer be seen. However, the faint light from the candles still shone out. It was eerie and somewhat eerie. Old Madame Wang's gaze became serious. Zhang Xiu had entered the water. If the ancestor was in the water, then Zhang Xiu would definitely be able to find him. A battle between demigods was about to happen. Chapter 90. Zhang Xiu followed the river lantern all the way until it stopped above the waves as if it had reached the shore. It bobbed up and down without moving half a step forward. He knew that there was a strange power beneath the water. It's right below. His body immediately sank as if it weighed thousands of tons. He sank straight to the bottom of the water at a speed comparable to falling from the sky. The depth of the Qian River exceeded Zhang Xiu's expectations. It was a full 50 to 60 meters deep. Even at his current speed, he felt that it was quite a while before he landed on the bottom of the river. His pupils had already melted and turned pitch black. His gaze swept over everything at the bottom of the river. People might not change much if they stayed underwater for a year or even 10 years. But what if they stayed underwater for 50 or even 100 years? The evolution of species was the best explanation for why the ancestors of the Wang family practiced underwater. Constant changes to the living environment would inevitably lead to mutations. Although it couldn't be said to be the best way to practice underwater, Zhang Xiu couldn't deny that using a strange environment was the best way to cultivate on Earth, which was completely lacking in spiritual energy. But how was he progressing? The bottom of the river was incomparably quiet. In the distance, a pitch-black figure was lying on a rock covered in weeds. His entire body emitted a terrifying and mysterious aura. When Zhang Xiu got closer, he could see that the man's body was wrapped in chains as thick as an arm. Attached to the chains was a huge sword about half a meter wide and 1.8 meters tall. It was inserted diagonally into the mud. A friend from afar. He was extremely skinny, wearing a set of tattered and corroded clothes. His exposed chest revealed many ribs, and it could be said that he was emaciated. However, this body contained a tremendous amount of power. As he spoke, he slowly opened his eyes. His eyes erupted with an intense light that only subsided after a while. He should be in a deep sleep, or perhaps a fetus. "Your Excellency, you must be looking for me." His tone was indifferent. "You want to compete with me?" Although he was at the bottom of the river, he had a clear view of everything that had happened on the shore. It wasn't difficult for him to find out what had happened on the tide viewing platform. However, Zhang Xiu shook his head and said, "It's not a battle of strength, but a battle of life and death." His eyes suddenly widened as he sized up Zhang Xiu once again. He was very arrogant and confident. He smiled faintly and said, "All right, I've stayed at the bottom of the river for 60 years. It just so happens that I'm a bit tired." As he spoke, he stood up. The chains on his body made clinking sounds. He was worried that he wouldn't be able to stay underwater, so he used shackles to trap himself underwater, forcing himself to stay there for 60 years. Today was the day he would break the seal. Unknowingly, his body had already floated up. The sword's handle was too high, so he had to float up to reach it. Suddenly, he pulled the sword out of the quagmire. Just from this move alone, one could tell that he had a great understanding of the Tao of water. While floating, he was even faster than a fish. Furthermore, he was able to pull out a giant sword that weighed several hundred kilograms without using any force. Clang! With a flip of his hand, he slashed the thick iron chain with the blade. Ding! The chain broke with a sound, and his entire body was freed from the shackles of the chain. I won't take advantage of you. Let's fight on the shore. As he spoke, he had already dragged his long sword and rushed to the surface of the river from the bottom of the river. At this moment, it felt as if he was flying. His speed was astonishing. Humph! Zhang Xiu followed closely behind. His entire body was as fast as the wind. In the water, he didn't fall behind at all. What a joke! The person in front of him was the sect master of Qianqing School. How could an ordinary person compare to him with 3,000 years of cultivation experience? As soon as the patriarch of the Wang family rushed to the surface of the river, Zhang Xiu also rushed out. Look! They're coming out! Seeing the two figures rushing out from the water, there was an uproar on the tide-watching platform. Some people cried out in surprise, and their hearts stopped beating. The demigod of the Wang family had appeared. Ha ha ha! Seeing the light of day again, the patriarch of the Wang family laughed loudly. His whole body was like a bird flying in the air. Holding a long sword twice the size of his body, he glided on the surface of the river for more than 10 meters. It had been 60 years. The people of the Wang family present, including old Madame Wang, could no longer recognize him. However, they were certain that this old man was undoubtedly the patriarch of the Wang family. The descendants of the Wang family knelt down one after another. Your descendants are incompetent. Please bless us, patriarch. Please bless us, patriarch. The Wang family had suffered such a great humiliation today. If they didn't kill Zhang Luoxia, how could their anger be appeased? How could the 200-year-old Wang family establish itself in Zhongnan? Brat, you dare to offend the Wang family. Only death awaits you. It was as if he had a pair of wings on his back. The tips of his feet kept tapping on the surface of the river, like a dragonfly skimming the surface of the water. The stormy waves around him made him appear to be above the heavenly might of nature. Watch out for my sword! With a swing of his huge sword, a vast force was drawn by him, rolling up a huge wave. This was completely condensed by his cultivation. The soft river water was condensed like steel and shot toward Zhang Xiu. Just one drop was enough to pierce through a person. Boom! After Zhang Xiu rushed out of the water, he suddenly landed on the surface of the turbulent river. In an instant, the surface of the entire Qianjiang River trembled. The air waves spread out and collided with the huge wave that was sweeping toward him. Bang! The two forces collided, creating a shocking water curtain that was 30 to 40 meters high. It was raging like a tsunami. Ha ha ha! The patriarch of the Wang family laughed again. Not bad, not bad. You didn't let me down. He stepped on the water again. His whole body was like a big bird. The huge sword in his hand had already slashed fiercely at the water curtain. A sharp sword aura came out of the sword and flashed through the water curtain. The second slash. This sword aura was originally formless and colorless. However, because of the falling rain, it was reflected and sputtered. Its shape was vaguely like a transparent sword body. The inner strength of martial cultivators was very rough. Even if one reached the transforming strength stage, it wouldn't change much. However, the sword aura of the patriarch of the Wang family was incomparably condensed. It was almost tangible. In fact, this level was not much different from divine power. It should have completed the transformation from inner strength. However, even if they were both divine power, there were differences in strength. Moreover, this strength hadn't reached the true level of divine power. This should be the so-called demigod realm. Before Zhang Xiu formed the first complete Protoss totem, he was a divine infant. It could be said that he was a demigod. The difference in strength between the two wasn't too big. The biggest difference was that Zhang Xiu had tens of millions of immortal martial arts divine abilities and thousands of Taoist techniques. He also had 3,000 years of bloodshed in the immortal martial continent. The gap was so huge that it couldn't be described with words. Your cultivation is not bad. Zhang Xiu praised. It was indeed not bad to be able to cultivate to this level in a situation where the spiritual qi on earth had completely withered. However, Jiang Xiu took a step forward. The sword in his hand shone brightly. A slash of the sword was actually more than 10 meters long. It directly shattered the formless sword aura into nothingness. The expression of the patriarch of the Wang family changed. His sword could only be in 5 colors, but the sword aura of his opponent was so strong. The difference in the quality of their divine power was like the light of a firefly and the scorching sun. What ancient sword technique are you using? The sword aura didn't slow down and pierced through the water curtain. He suddenly retreated. The patriarch of the Wang family kept swinging the sword in his hand. The giant sword was swung by him and countless water droplets were knocked away. The sword aura collided with the pitch-black giant sword and directly sent him flying. What a pity, Jiang Xiu sighed. His divine power was too weak. What he used was the introductory sword technique of the Qianqing school. It was called the 13 sword techniques of heavenly conduct. It was the basic sword technique, and it was also the sword technique that Jiang Xiu had put the most effort into learning. When he first arrived at the Qianqing school, he had no roots and lacked resources. He didn't have the ability to change to a sword technique of a higher level. As a result, he had been practicing this set of sword techniques. Who knew that misfortune and fortune would come together? This actually helped him to lay a very solid foundation for his swordsmanship. It laid a solid foundation for his rapid progress in the future. After 3,000 years, he used it again. Although it was still handy, its power was so weak that it couldn't even destroy an ordinary sword. It was really embarrassing. Haha, is this all you've got? The Wang clan's ancestor laughed loudly. Then, he shook his head, as if what happened just now was just a false alarm. What a good ancient sword art. It has a bit of the elegance of an immortal sword. However, you shouldn't have fought with me on the water. This is my territory. You're tuning in to the Narrate and Escape YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.